It's that time again, folks. It's time to go racing in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. Round 4 of the 2020 season takes us to the Prix McLaren Motorsport Park at Taupo in New Zealand. Jake Sanson here. Should be a cracker of a race as we get into the end of the first third of the inaugural 2020 Downforce Grand Prix World Series, part of the new Retro Racing Managers League for all those budding motorsport managers out there. Using Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix 2, making this the Minecraft of modern motorsport. It is an absolutely thrill fest of a fantastic season. Let's talk you through how things have been going since the first 3 races at Kyalami, Marrakesh and Bathurst last time out. It is Jean-Eric Verne who leads the standings at the present moment, just a whisker in front of Kamui Kobayashi, with Andre Lotterer and Lucas de Grassi scoring well over the first 3 races. Marc Genet and Sébastien Bourdais in the hunt, so too Sébastien Buemi, and then a 3-way tie for 8th between Bruno Senna, Paul de Resta and Anthony Davidson from 3 separate teams. And then, of course, carrying on the list, you've got Alex Rossi there just outside the top 10 from Timo Glock, who finally put some points on the board at Bathurst. Then Susie Wolf and Marcus Ericsson from Taki Inui. And then Nick Heidfeld, who still has only 1 point to his name from pole position at Kyalami, and Nico Hulkenberg, who finally put a point on the board after a lot of bad luck last time out at Bathurst. In the team standings, well, there's been some changes. BAR now lead the way after their fantastic run at Bathurst. AGS have taken over second place from Arrows Alfa Romeo. Then Minardi, Onyx and Manor, who have just managed to go a few points ahead of Lola. Super Aguri have leapt up to 8th in the standings. And then it is Simtek and 40 behind. Let's take a look at the runners and riders while we chat to some of the team managers that are going to be in the reckoning. Not all of them are available since we had to move the race times to daytime. Unfortunately, the evenings just were not viable, unfortunately, with my schedule. So let's go and chat to a few of the managers who are currently in pit road at the present moment, and they are getting themselves ready for the action. Let's have a chat to a much better improved Simtek team and their manager, Scott Woodwiss. Qualifying today, Scott, for those who have been following the last 3 races, you guys must have had a nosebleed. Stoffel Van Dorn in 3rd position.
Yeah, well, we're quite happy with their place. It's really good performance from Stoffel. Marcus, I think, as well, 13th place. So we know he's good to pick his way through the field if he needs to. So, yeah, I think we're pretty happy with qualifying, and fingers crossed we can get the cars to the end and put some points on the board so we can make some improvements for the next round.
It looks as though the pace of the car is really able to show itself on a shorter circuit. I mean, you guys went very well at the first round of the championship when the circuit was quite short. And again, here at Taupo, it looks as though anything longer than 3 miles for a circuit and the car is not quite getting there. I'm guessing that's what you guys are going to be spending the budget on for the rest of the year to get it up to a bit more mechanical grip.
Yeah, and I think we can also, we look at the horsepower numbers that we've got compared to everyone else. It seems good. So we just have to work with what we can, use the money that we've got, and I think maybe sort of start improving a bit more engine power, was reliability at the same time, and see what we can do. But yeah, all we can do today is do the best we can, and hopefully the result comes and you make it to the end.
Sounds good. Hopefully it's a good one for the Simtek boys. Good luck. Let's have a chat with Ryan Ferris over at Team Onyx. Ryan, the Onyx team have had a brilliant start to their campaign. Let's be fair, they've scored points in all 3 of the first 3 races, and you guys have consistency and speed from the Isuzu power plant. Can you get a victory at any time soon?
Not entirely sure about that. We need to make some more developments with the horsepower. We are currently, I believe, the 3rd slowest car on the grid in terms of horsepower, but we do have a bit of reliability on our side, although I've probably just jinxed that. But no, we're still pushing ahead.
So there's going to be some very exciting races for you guys. Who do you think is going to have the stronger race? I mean, it's been a bit of a different season between Bruno Senna and Sébastien Bourdais. Who do you think is going to have the stronger opportunity to go for a decent result this time?
Well, Sebastian's starting in 9th, I believe, with Senna being far further down. So I think the objective for Senna is to get into the points today. Bourdais possibly challenge for the podium, as he has done from this sort of position in previous races.
Okay, well, hopefully it's a prosperous one for the boys in purple and white. Good luck. Alex Goldschmidt, team boss at Minardi. I have to say, again, 3 brilliant races so far for the squad. Points every time out. And there was even the potential for a win in Marrakesh. How are things likely to go for you guys at Taupo?
Interesting question. Not entirely sure, if I'm honest with you, Jake. But We're a little bit happier in qualifying. Obviously, Mark's been towards the bottom part of the top 15, but Anthony's making some strides forward. I mean, we haven't been concerning ourselves with qualifying. We've just been looking to make sure that we've got some fairly consistent pace and some fairly consistent reliability, which seems to be the case at the moment. But with a very lengthy Grand Prix here in New Zealand on the cards, we're not too sure how it's all going to pan out, but we can only hope for the best.
Well, good luck. Hopefully it's going to be another great race for you guys. Turning to Tom Cairns over at the Prost team. Now, let's be fair, Tom. You guys could really use a break because the first part of the season you have shown incredible speed and flair, particularly with Pedro de la Rosa and with Jaime Alguersuari as well. But there's been absolutely no luck. Have you thrown out every single rabbit's foot, black cat and stepladder that you've got on your possession?
Well, I'd like to think I do. But the cars just need to make sure that not only they qualify well, but actually finishing well. I mean, Jaime got the first finish for us in Bathurst, but De La Rosa is still yet to get a finish on the board and get points on the board. And you know, we've been close to a podium in Marrakesh, and we've been close to top 5 finishes at the other races as well. But yeah, like we say, we do need to catch a break eventually. Hopefully the race in Taupo will end that hoodoo, and yeah, I can only hope for the best. I mean, I'm quite disappointed with where Alguersuari has ended up again, considering it's a short circuit and being 1.2 seconds off the pace. It is quite a lot of time in comparison to what De La Rosa has found, really. So Jaime does need to up his pace in the race, hopefully, but you know, there'll be plenty of time and plenty of laps to get the job done out there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because it's been a tricky start to the season, but obviously we've seen the quite totalitarian dictatorship at BMS Italia. When Stefano Modena wasn't on the pace, they changed immediately to James Courtney, and at Bathurst he was very strong. I know that Jaime Alguersuari's been out of a racing car for about 7 years. Do you think that that's kind of, you know, giving us a little bit of an indication that perhaps he's not quite where he needs to be?
Well, a lot can change in a short space of time, but it's down to the drivers to make sure that they do as good of a job as what they are set out to do. Now, we haven't set them particular, specific goals where they need to end up in qualifying or the race because we didn't know where they would end up in comparison to everyone else. And given the reliability issues that we had in the first couple of races, we wanted to give them a good opportunity to show that they can compete with this field because, you know, every driver in the field has never won a Grand Prix before the season started.
Yeah.
I mean, my loyalty with the drivers is still sky high, even with what's happened in the first 3 races. And I'm not going to sort of jump into conclusions with what I'm going to do with my driver lineup. That is something that we are going to be doing behind closed doors until we know when the time is right to make a change. But at this moment of time, we still want to give our drivers the best chance possible. They're both on equal status, and it's down to them to make sure they do as good of a job as what they are doing at the moment.
Okay, well, it's time to get cracking with the race itself. Thanks very much, gentlemen. May the odds ever be in your favour. I can't believe I went Jennifer Lawrence on you all. Thanks very much indeed, and good luck with race action. So, we are going to get ourselves very much into the swing of things. So let's go around this fantastic circuit here at Taupo in New Zealand as we ride on board with Marcus Ericsson of the Simtech team. He's had a very strong weekend so far. He's got himself a little higher up the order than he has done in previous races, and his teammate Stoffel Vandoorne is right up there in P3. So let's talk us through into that first corner. It's a tight hairpin that starts the lap, so obviously that run to the first corner is going to be very critical, and we could have 1 or 2 thrills or spills there. Through to the right-hander, close into the curb, tucking in, then making a little bit of a splurt on the throttle then for the left-hander, a little duck down into a double right apex, very similar to the Lesmos at Monza. Then you come off the turn and get yourself back on the power. Up to the far end of the circuit, hard on the throttle, a little bit of a braking needed for this tight left-hand hairpin, and you get yourself back into the power once again. But there is a long straight coming up. Once you've gone through this flat-out left-hand kink, you then go into a similar one for the right. You're keeping a lot of speed here, but you're just decelerating a little bit, and then you come up to this tight hairpin. You move across gradually to come through the right-hand kink, and then you stay to the right-hand side, braking heavily down into this hairpin. And this is where things get really fast on this circuit. It's a long back straight, and it takes you all the way down to the main paddock area. You're slightly downhill as well, so expect a lot of overtaking overtaking opportunities on the slipstream. So this is going to be an interesting section of the track. You then come into a very similar end to the circuit to Istanbul, but it's a lot faster, more fast flowing through the left, right, left that finishes the lap. And that is a tour around the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park in Taupo, New Zealand. And it's quite an interesting grid. For the first time this season, there is not one team eclipsing the front row of the starting grid. So let's talk you through. It is Sebastian Buemi's BAR who grabbed the pole with a 1 minute 12.109, 2 tenths clear of Nick Heidfeld. Stoffel van Dorn in a brilliant third place for Simtek, with Manners Lucas de Grassi in P4. Della Rosa and Verne, championship leader there in P6, Brendan Hartley and Nico Hulkenberg, and the top 10 rounded out by Sebastian Bourdais and Kamui Kobayashi. Then it's Timo Glock and Alex Rossi from Marc Genet and Paul de Resta. Then Andre Lotterer lines up on row 8 alongside Marcus Ericsson, and then it is Bruno Senna and Anthony Davidson who share row 9, with the BMS Italias making it an all-Italian team row 10 for James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini. Then Jaime Alguersuari and Enrique Bernoldi for Midland, Susie Wolf in the Lola and Luciano Berti in the second of the Midland Toyotas. And then it's an all 40 back row. Once again, Taki Inui and Jean-Denis Delatraz, the Swiss, there on the back row of the starting grid. Hang on to your hats, folks. It's going to be an absolute thriller here at Taupo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go racing. We are ready for action here at Taupo in New Zealand. The grid is set and you can see our first few rows on the grid getting ready. Buemi, Heidfeld, Van Dorn, de Grassi. Let's go racing here at Taupo. It is going to be an absolutely thrilling encounter and we are underway. Starters orders and Buemi gets a flyer. Verne tucks right out to the inside line to try and get a better run to the first corner. Heidfeld is going to get there into third. It's a brilliant start for Van Dorn. He is going to fill it out with Heidfeld. We're looking at the bumping and boring at the back of the field, but Buemi has got through into the lead from Heidfeld and Van Dorn. Then it's Verne, de Grassi, Della Rosa, Hulkenberg, Bourdais, Hartley and Kobayashi. Absolutely fantastic battling so far. There is your top 15 at the moment. That's Heidfeld that we're watching. Oh, a bit of a moment there for one of the arrows. I think that's Hulkenberg. So an interesting start to proceedings as the competitors now ride their way through the first few corners on this 80-lap race. Buemi is your leader. Heidfeld, Van Dorn, Verne and de Grassi in the top 5. Clean start so far. No major concerns around the field. Then in 6th is Della Rosa, Hulkenberg, Bourdais, Hartley and Kobayashi. So a cracking start to the race so far. Buemi leads the way. This time it's the other BAR that controls the pace as they come onto the back straight for the first time in this encounter. An absolutely brilliant racing prospect. 80 laps of this fantastic circuit in New Zealand. Last hosted the A1 Grand Prix as a major single-seater event. Quite a few years ago now, of course. But the field now making its way through the final chicane. In the top 15, you've already seen. Then it's Courtney, Davidson, Senna, Alguersuari, Ericsson. And then it is Tarquini from Berti, Bernoldi, Wolf, Delatraz and Inui. And we're going to want to see what the pit stop strategies are going to be like. I'm assuming that most of the teams are going to go for a 2-stop strategy here. We'll double check as they go around. Oh, it looks as though Buemi's going long on a 1-stop strategy. So that'll be brave. He might need to make it 2. In fact, several teams look like they're going to need to make it 2. Van Dorn's gone light. Now that's critical because he should be able to make up a couple of overtaking moves and potentially even lead the race. So this will definitely be a very good start for him as he tries to get himself through. Anthony Davidson in the Minardi trying to make up progress through the field. So immediately a tough start. But Buemi is your leader. Heidfeld second. That's a slowing Arrows. And Arrows is slowing. So somebody's in trouble there. I couldn't quite see whether that was a mechanical-based problem or whether that was something more severe. But certainly we've got a problem at the back of the field, I think. And it's one of the Arrows cars. It is indeed, yes, coming off the circuit there. It's Kamui Kobayashi, the winner in South Africa. He comes off the circuit with an electrical problem. He can't make it back to the pits. So the first race retirement is the winner in South Africa. That is devastating for Kamui Kobayashi, and he is out. So, big disaster. Whoa, as Alguersuari goes deep into the chicane there. So, Kobayashi is the first retiree from the race. I thought we had a slowing car. But yes, indeed, Kamui Kobayashi in the arrows out of the race now. And so, it's Buemi, Heidfeld, Van Dorn, Verne, De Grassi. That's your top 5 at the present moment. Now, we did say that the cars were running very deep into... Oh, there's another yellow flag incident. Someone else has gone. It's Delatraz. Oh, what a shame. Delatraz is the latest one, and it looks as though he's got suspension failure. You can see the wheels out of line at the back. So Delatraz, I think he must have hit one too many curbs in Bathurst. Here in Taupo, he can't even go further than lap 2. So here comes Van Dorn, making the move into second position, trying to get through on Heidfeld. Now, he needs to get these overtaking moves done because he's on a lighter fuel load than Buemi and Heidfeld. It looks like they're going to go long into the race. And we saw, didn't we, at Bathurst that the heavy fuel load is not the way to work. It certainly wasn't the right strategy at Bathurst, but it might work at Taupo. The teams are definitely going for it, but Simtek have decided they're not going to make the same mistake as they did in Mount Panorama. They're going to fuel lights. They're going to go for overtaking movement. They're going to go for overtaking moves early on, and a light fuel load. Up into 4th place, though, has come the championship leader, Jean-Eric Verne. He's there in P4. So this is going to be a really interesting battle as they continue to charge forward. But Sebastian Buemi is your race leader, and he continues to lead the way in the BAR. So he continues on. They've already had one victory this year. We've had 3 different race winners from 3 different teams over the course of proceedings. We've had a victory for BAR, courtesy of Jean-Eric Verne. We had Kamui Kobayashi take the victory in South Africa, the first round of the championship. And unfortunately, he's definitely not going to get a second one because he's now out of the race. And the third different winner was at Marrakesh, and that was Andre Lotterer for the AGS team. Here's Verne having to fend off from the manner of Lucas De Grassi. De Grassi trying to come through. So De Grassi is trying to make his way through into 4th position. I have a feeling that's also going to be down to the problems that he's got with fuel load. But again, this is Heidfeld trying to shake off Van Dorn. 2 drivers that really need to get a decent score on the board, who have not been able to so far this season. But that's Buemi leading. Heidfeld 2nd. Van Dorn is 3rd. Verne in 4th position. Then De Grassi in P5. In 6th is Della Rosa from Hulkenberg, Bourdais, Hartley and De Resta. Then it is Glock in front of Jennings and Rossi. Lotterer is 14th. James Courtney in 15th. Bourdais getting it a little bit crossed up. Davidson and Ericsson. Then Senna, Alguersuari and Berti. And then we've got Tarquini and Bonaldi with Wolf and Inui. And then the last 2 are retirements, Delatraz and Kobayashi. But Bourdais is chasing down the arrows of Nico Hulkenberg. The only remaining arrows in the race already, and this is only lap 5. So big problems for arrows and their man Kamui Kobayashi, who will not score points today. But it looks as though a very feisty and fired up Stoffel Van Dorn is going to go after Nick Heidfeld. Down the back straight they go. Buemi is your leader. Heidfeld in 2nd, but Van Dorn's going to have him surely on the slipstream down the back straight. He's definitely having a look. In fact, he's being very smart here. He's not going for the overtake. He's just letting Heidfeld do all the hard work for him. He's just hanging in the slipstream. He doesn't need to make the overtake until he's ready to and until he's got a good track position to. So we're on board with the second of the 2 manners. This is on board with Brendan Hartley, the Kiwi, on home soil, as he tries to battle away and move up the order. Then obviously there's a lot of New Zealand flags here for Brendan Hartley. They will want him to get a brilliant result on the board, so they will continue to push for it. Here's Heidfeld out in front of Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtek. It would be great to see Van Dorn grab a podium finish if he can hang on to this. He's got the championship leader Jean-Eric Verne behind him. But the entirety of the field would love to see a retirement for the BAR. They've had such a good start to the season. Buemi, though, has had the lead twice at Kyalami and dropped it twice on those 2 occasions while leading it. So, obviously, the nerves have settled down now and these drivers are starting to drive a little better. Whoa, Bonaldi getting it very crossed up under braking there and leaving Susie Wolf with a little bit of a roadblock. Couldn't go anywhere. And there is Taki Inui at the back of the field in the 40. Still loving life back in a racing car again. And that's the first time he's raced in any form of racing car, I'm fairly sure, since the late 90s. So very impressive work to see Taki Inui back up to speed again. But it's Buemi who leads. Heidfeld in 2nd. Van Dorn is still 3rd. 1.6 seconds away. De La Rosa again in the top 6. He's so good at this, De La Rosa, but the car just doesn't seem to last the distance when he's in a strong position. Maybe the jinx is going to die here. He's right in there behind Degrassi, and Vern is just one car in front. But that brilliant BAR Zip livery has been at the top step of one podium already this year. That was last time out at Bathurst. And now they've got a chance to get this done at Taupo. And of course, after this round, we head to the European part of the season, where we go to Estoril for round 5 in Portugal. Great to see that circuit make a comeback in the world of Grand Prix racing. It hasn't raced, of course, since 1996. Oh, Dave Goddard's going to be disappointed. Taki Inui's engine has finally gone. The life engine, it's been incredibly reliable. It's lasted 3 races for Taki Inui, but now it is game over. And unfortunately, that is a double retirement for 40 for the first time this year. They've done very well considering, but now Taki Inui is out. Well, that's game over for 40. And we ride on board for Sebastian Buemi. Out of the final turn and onto the main straight to go into lap number 8. This is exactly 1/10 distance in this race. So the battle continues. And it is really good stuff as the competitors drive their way around the circuit. So Buemi, Heidfeld, Van Dorn, Vern, Degrassi, De La Rosa is the top 6 at the moment. Then in P7 is Hulkenberg from Bourdais, Hartley and Iresta. Glock, Jene, Rossi, Lotterer and Courtney, but we can already see that there's a lot of retirements. Davidson, Ericsson, Senna and Alguersuari. Then Luciano Berti, Gabriele Tarquini. Oh, a mistake for Heidfeld! A mistake for Heidfeld, and that has backed the entire field up. That's not good news. Van Dorn would have rather hoped to get up the inside there and take the position, but Heidfeld locked up big style there into the hairpin, and that has backed the whole field into him, essentially, and it looks as though Susie Wolf has had to make a pit stop. Now, I'm not sure what for, but Bourdais runs wide, and that's enough to let the arrows come back through. So, all sorts of dramas. Wolf has come into the pits. I wonder if she's had a mechanical problem. And that has got her back out onto the circuit in dead last, I'm afraid, because there are no 40s to take the back row of the field. So Susie Wolf rejoins. She was in 23rd anyway, but she rejoins at the back of the field regardless in the Lola. And now we're on board with Heidfeld. Has he got a problem developing, I wonder? Oh, Vern's gone wide! Vern's gone wide! That's the championship leader! Vern's overshot at the first corner, and that drops him back into 6th position. That is a big one. Oh, and he spun it! He spun it! Vern's got all sorts of problems. There's no mechanical issues to speak of, but Jean-Eric Vern, championship leader, has dropped it in 2 separate corners. Has he got a problem developing, or has he just overdriven the car? Well, this is very dramatic stuff indeed, as Jean-Eric Vern, championship leader, drops it on lap 9, and that has ended any chance he might have had of taking a second victory. So it looks as though we're going to get 4 different winners from the first 4 races, but is there going to be a new team winning it, or will Buemi hold on to his lead? Then it's Heidfeld, Van Dorn, Degrassi now up to 4th, De La Rosa's now 5th, and then in 6th is Hulkenberg from Bourdais, Hartley, De Resta and Timo Glock now making his way into the points. All sorts of drama, and already just on lap 9. So here's Tarquini trying to make a bold lunge on the inside of the Midland. That's not going to work. See, this is a tight and twisty circuit, but it's a short track, so a short track with a lot of laps. So drivers will want to get stuck in and start making overtaking moves, and that is why. So Buemi is out in front on lap 10 of 80. And at the end of this, we'll be 1/8 of the way through the race. But it's already pretty dramatic going as Susie Wolf has rejoined to the circuit after her shenanigans. There she is. She's had a pit stop to, I'm guessing, sort out something with the electrics or maybe a loose wheel or something like that. We did see her in a big scrap earlier on with Luciano Berti. So I wonder if they might have tagged together and she picked up some damage. But the Lola continues on its way in 23rd position. Now we're looking at Nick Heidfeld, 2nd place still, and he is causing a major headache for Stoffel Van Dorn. He just can't get past his fellow racer, and the German in 2nd place in front of the Belgian talent Stoffel Van Dorn for Simtek. They really want to get a decent finish on the board. Super Aguri managed to get a 4th place finish for Timo Glock last time out at Bathurst, but Simtek's only point scoring finish at the moment was at Marrakesh with an 8th place for Marcus Ericsson. So Stoffel Van Dorn's been quick but unlucky. As up the inside comes Tarquini. Tries to get through on the inside of Berti and can't make it stick. Now James Courtney, teammate to Gabriele Tarquini, has had a much better run in the first 2 races of his season. But Tarquini can still handle it. There's no doubt about that. There is Della Rosa in P5, trying to stay with Degrassi. But Della Rosa once again in the top 5. That's another lock-up the road. Is that Heidfeld going wide again? Yes, I think it was. Heidfeld struggling to get these tyres working. And he's going to have a long stint as well. So if I'm Stoffel Vandoorne and I'm getting stuck behind Nick Heidfeld, I'm very grateful for the fact I've got a light fuel load, because he could potentially undercut Heidfeld with a faster car. So Vandoorne, as long as he doesn't lose a massive amount of time to Buemi, and he's only 2.7 back, Vandoorne's looking pretty good for the lead of the race here, because he'll have a lighter fuel load, he'll have fresher tyres, and Buemi and Heidfeld are going to go quite long into this race. So I think Vandoorne's actually the one to watch here in third position. Degrassi's probably going to be very similar on the fuel load. Look, there are the fuel loads. You can see that on the top of the Digimonitors. 25 laps of fuel left in Buemi's car. Heidfeld's got 24. There's only 8 laps of fuel for Vandoorne, and he's going pretty quick. Degrassi likewise. That's why he's caught up to the field. And Della Rosa. So these three could be the three that actually battle for victory. Hulkenberg's going short, as is Bourdais. In fact, Bourdais going to come into the pits now by the look of it. So Bourdais, yes, he fueled very short into the race. All sorts of differences in terms of the pit stop strategy. So we're going to see a very dynamic race. Lots of pit stops here because it's a short circuit, but it's very hot. It's quite humid. So here in New Zealand, obviously, there's going to be some very interesting pit stop strategies. And this race is going to have a lot of dynamics to it. And the cars are still fairly worn out after their run at Bathurst. They didn't have a lot of retirements from the race. There was only 6 compared to the other races in the season when we've seen about 15 retirements. So this is a fascinating run. Stoffel Vandoorne there in third position, but the 2 men behind him, Degrassi and Della Rosa, are effectively the drivers he is actually racing for the victory in this Grand Prix, because the 2 guys in front are on heavier fuel loads. This is a very strong run from Sebastian Buemi as a result of that. Here comes Bourdais. He doesn't want to wait around, and he's stuck there behind the arrows. And that has, he nearly spun the car completely, but he is going to be the first of the top 10 to make a pit stop. So we'll run with him. Now, remember, about a dozen seconds takes you a very long way into the race. So we're going to have to judge how many more laps he's going to be before he comes back into the pits again. So we're on board with Bourdais, the first of the big names to make a pit stop then. 3-time Champ Cars champion, of course, before making his trip to Formula 1. And that's a 9.7 second stop. Now, that's going to take him as far as about lap 30. So I think he's on a 3-stop strategy, actually, Bourdais. And that might be the quickest way of going about it. And I think that's what Vandoorne, Degrassi and Della Rosa are doing as well. A 3-stop strategy rather than what could end up being a 2-stopper for Buemi and Heidfeld. So this is going to be a fascinating Grand Prix, and it's going to go all the way down to the wire. 80 laps around this very short track. But there's still plenty of overtaking opportunities. Not that Vandoorne has been able to exploit any of them stuck behind Heidfeld. He's 3 seconds behind Buemi. If I'm Vandoorne, I'm going to make my pit stop sooner rather than later. And he's going to be forced to by his fuel load. Degrassi's there in 4th. Della Rosa's there in 5th. And I think Della Rosa and Degrassi and Vandoorne have only got about a lap or 2 between them before they are going to consider making that pit stop. There is Sebastian Buemi. Buemi has actually had a very strong run. He's finished every single race so far this season. And Rossi goes for his teammate Lotterer. Oh, the AGS is nearly tangle. That could have been very nasty with both of them just outside the points in 11th and 12th. And of course, Lotterer is a race winner so far. He won at Marrakesh. So Heidfeld in second place. Tarquini pits from 22nd. So he was on a light fuel load. It didn't really help him move up the order though. But Buemi, Heidfeld and Vandoorne. Whoops, a moment for Marc Genet, but he brings it back on track just in time there. And that's given himself a bit of a roadblock to deal with now, because he is now the front locomotive in the train. He's got the 2 AGSs, James Courtney's BMS Italia, and then in 14th, his own teammate Davidson. And at the back of that queue is Marcus Ericsson in P15. Now, Ericsson's going to be frustrated here in particular because his teammate Vandoorne, who he would argue he is as good as, is right up there in P3. Heidfeld really struggling out of the final bend, and Degrassi is getting impatient. Sat behind. Oh, Buemi makes the mistake in the first corner. That is the race leader overshooting at turn 1. Now, that's both BARs then having a problem at the same point. So that is a very interesting scenario, but Buemi getting it all wrong in turn 1. Now, that's a glimmer of hope for the cars behind, because he will have lost at least a second in that. And the car is definitely not as far ahead of them as it was before. Indeed, he lost exactly a second. Stoffel Van Dorn, we're right on board with the Simtek. Out of the hairpin. And charging after the man in front, Nick Heidfeld. So Stoffel Van Dorn in third, De Grassi in fourth, De La Rosa in fifth. See, look, the straight line speed of the Ilmore engine compared to that of the Mugen engine is comparable because the Simtek is able to get right up close behind Heidfeld, but he's not going for the killer overtaking move. He doesn't catch him with enough time to do anything about the pass, and that's where it's quite critical and it's quite key to be patient. He's got a long way to go, so that's probably why he's not going ugly early, and that mistake from Buemi will have lessened the intensity a little bit. He doesn't have to panic quite so much. Into the pits comes the Prost. So De La Rosa is in from P5. Now that is an important pit stop. De Grassi's coming in as well on the next lap. And a lap after that, it's going to be Van Dorn. So in comes De La Rosa. Lap 16. Brendan Hartley in the pits on home soil as well. But this man is the one we need to keep an eye on. De La Rosa in the pit lane. And it's going to be a short stop. Look at that, 9 seconds. And that's... Oh, he's had to stop. He's had to stop and wait for Davidson and another car as well. That's Hartley going out again. So waiting for Davidson meant he then had to lose the place to Hartley. So that's a horrific pit stop for De La Rosa. It's all gone terribly wrong for the Prost. But that eases the pressure on De Grassi and Van Dorn, because they're not going to have quite so much hard work when it comes out of... De La Rosa was a big threat. But the pit stop, it was a quick stop, but they had to wait for Davidson. Otherwise, it would have been an unsafe release. And then because they had to wait for Davidson, they also then had to wait for Hartley. Devastating chain of events there for the Prost team. So that's going to, that puts him out in 20th. Look at that. He's way down the order as a result. He probably would have been in about 15th place had it not been for that delay. So a costly error in the pit lane for De La Rosa. It's a comedy of farcical errors for the Prost team so far this year. And De Grassi's in. So De Grassi's in the pit. Now, that's an important stop. Let's see if we can figure out where De Grassi's going to get out. And he's going to go a little bit longer into the race than some of his rivals. So that's a little bit further into the race. Lotterer is coming into the pits now as well. Now, that's Bruno Senna. So Senna goes by. And I think Ericsson is going to get by as well. No, sorry, that's Alguersuari. So Alguersuari gets out, and then it's De Grassi. And he rejoins just in front of Luciano Berti. So that's what Brendan Hartley didn't do, and that's what De La Rosa didn't do. So it's still a good performance for De Grassi. He's still in a good position. Hulkenberg now up to 4th, and De Resta now up to 5th as a result of the pit stops. But Buemi and Heidfeld are going to go significantly further into this race. So it's all going to be about the pit stop for Van Dorn now. See, look, these guys are going quite a long way in, and Van Dorn is due in. Van Dorn is due in at this lap. Now, it's not a massive problem that he's been stuck behind Heidfeld. It really isn't, because he's going to make his way into the pits. He cannons the car into the pit lane, and he will not have lost a massive amount of time sat behind Buemi and Heidfeld, because he's still right there in, with 3 seconds to play with. This has got to be a good pit stop, though, for Van Dorn and the Simtek team. So far, so good. Into the pits. And they bled the tank dry. So this is going to be a critical stop. This could be to put Van Dorn into the eventual lead of the Grand Prix. It's going to be a bit of time. And he's going to go very short on fuel this time. Now, this is critical tactics for the Simtek team. They're going aggressive again on the fuel to get a light fuel load car. And where is he out? Where is he out? In behind Alguersuari. That's really good for Van Dorn. Look, he's got a massive gap. Back to, now that's De Grassi, so he's actually built up a bit of a gap over De Grassi. That's really important for Van Dorn, and he's going to have a slightly lighter car than him, well, a significantly lighter car for this next stint, so he can start to pull away. So Van Dorn has actually gone for a very good tactical move there. He's now joined the same strategy as the guys up in front, but on a lighter fuel load, so he can catch them up again. So he's actually going to do this a sort of a roundabout way, but I'm fairly sure the BAR team and the Arrow and the Super Guri team behind, they're on a longer strategy. So I think Van Dorn's still got a good chance of a podium in this one, at the very minimum, if not the victory. So it's Buemi, Vern trying to make his way back up the field, and he gets past board A. So Vern makes the move on board A, and that is Ericsson. Oh no, actually, I think that's Van Dorn. Sorry, that's Van Dorn challenging Alguersuari to get back up into a position, and he's getting on with it. So Van Dorn really showing his stripes here today. as Buemi continues to lead. Heidfeld in second place, then Hulkenberg, De Resta, Glock. Then in the 6th position mark, it's Genet. In front of Rossi, Courtney, Ericsson, Senna. And there is Brendan Hartley. That's Lucas de Grassi in 13th place, behind Van Dorn, who has caught up to Jaime Alguersuari and is now trying to overtake him. And that's for track position, of course. That is for race position. So we're going to see how well that works out for them. But that's Verne. Oh, just about hanging on in front of Bourdais. Jean-Eric Verne having a horrible race by his standards, it has to be said. The championship leader looks as though his lead is about to be decimated, as Van Dorn is now going to make the push to get past Alguersuari. Alguersuari not making it easy, but they are racing for position. They're on differing fuel strategies, but they are racing for position. So now the battle and the task is really on for Van Dorn. So it's going to be a very tough order in front of them. And De Resta pits in from P5. That's expected. So he's gone a little bit longer. He's gone a little bit longer than some of the others, but not by enough really to make it a major shock. There's Hulkenberg, now running in third, but he's going longer into the race. There's De La Rosa in behind Bourdais, and he can't get by. And he's got one of the AGSs behind him. I think that's Lotterer. So they come through out of the final turn and onto the main straight once again. Great racecraft and great action. De La Rosa trying again, and this time he's got past Bourdais. So he's got through on Sebastian Bourdais. That's a critical overtaking move there. And he needed to get that one done. So that was a really important pass. And that could change the face of his afternoon. He knows that. So Buemi leading. Heidfeld, Hulkenberg and Glock. Bourdais nearly goes into the back of De La Rosa in his bid to try and get back through. Luciano Berti is currently there for Midland in 13th place. He's the leading Midland at the moment, because his teammate Bernaldi has made a pit stop and is there in P16. So this is absolutely fascinating stuff. We're into lap 21 now. We'll only go to our managers on the pit wall a couple of times during the race at most, because this is a thrill fest. I don't want to miss out on too much of the action here. De Grassi we're on board with now in 12th, and in front of us, that is Stoffel Van Dorn. Now Van Dorn is going to try and make the bid to get past Alguersuari on the straight, and he still just can't quite pop out on the inside line of the Spaniard. And all of that advantage he built up on De Grassi is now washed away. So a frustrating time for Van Dorn, who's got a car fast enough to win the race. And Tarquini, whoops-a-daisy, Tarquini makes a big error in judgment there. Oh, and he had to then dodge out of the way of Susie Wolf in the Lola, who then peeled off into the pits. So that got a little bit awkward for Tarquini. Almost with a rather nasty incident of his own there, as Wolf comes in for her scheduled pit stop. But unfortunately, with having already had one pit stop today, she's now going to fall down the order. Hulkenberg now in P2. Heidfeld is down in third. What's happened to Heidfeld? What's happened to Heidfeld? He's got a brake problem. A brake problem for Heidfeld. Now he's going to come back into the pits and they're going to try and fix it there in the pits. But that's big, big drama in this race. Now, if I'm the Super Aguri team, I'm changing strategy right now. I'm fixing the brake problem. He's going to have to be very careful. They're going to have to pretty much stop him manually. So they're going to have to fix the brake issue. They're not refueling him. Now, that's interesting. They're going to keep him on the same amount of fuel. So they're just going to... I'm not even sure if they change tyres or not either. So, very strange. If I was Super Aguri, I would have changed strategy there and then. But it's not the way they've decided to go about it. No fuel added, so that didn't take as much time. And look where he's rejoined. Right in front of Bertie and Hartley. So he is way behind the likes of Van Dorn and De Grassi. Bad news for Super Aguri, but delightful news for Simtech and for... Oh, Bernaldi now causing a bit of an issue. Bernaldi running wide, and that was two cars at least diving for it. Several cars choosing that opportune moment to go for a move or two. And that shuffled the deck of cards a little bit. So now we've got De La Rosa up to 14th. Bourdais is 15th. Bernaldi now 16th. And Bruno Senna's out. Bruno Senna's out of the race. What's happened there? Now we'll go back and have another look at it. Senna was in P6 and he's got a gearbox problem. Transmission. Oh, disaster for Bruno Senna. His race is over. And that is definitely game over from his point of view. What a shame. But the marshals are quick to the scene. And Bruno Senna is out of the race. So that's one Onyx gone. The car just pushed a little too hard after Bathurst, of course. So problems there, and it's now game over for Bruno Senna, and he was in P6. So it's Buemi that leads, Hulkenberg second, then Glock, Gene, Rossi, then it's Alguersuari and Van Dorn. Van Dorn's made the move. Van Dorn's got past Alguersuari. He's got fed up of waiting. So Van Dorn's made the move into P6. De Grassi now 7th in front of Heidfeld. And then it is Bertie and Hartley as Alguersuari finally pits in. So that is the reason they managed to get through. But even so, if they'd have waited any longer, it could have got very costly indeed for the leaders. And Jean-Eric Verne is in the pits as well. Now that's for his scheduled pit stop. So what a disaster for Verne after his spin and his off earlier on. It's really cost him any chance of winning this race. He's now down in about 21st position. There's his teammate Buemi, still running a good race, but he's not exactly had a flawless drive yet either, because he's had a couple of mistakes himself. So Buemi's still working hard. Hulkenberg second, then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn, De Grassi. Oh look, his teammates run out right in front of him. And that's Brendan Hartley making the move on De Resta. Hulkenberg pits in from second. So that will promote Van Dorn and De Grassi up into the top 6 again. So it's all go here, but Buemi is out in front. And that's his teammate in front of him, Jean-Eric Verne, who's about to be lapped. The championship leader is about to be lapped by his teammate. That's how badly things are going for Verne. And looks like a pit stop or two coming. Oh, Bertie trying to make a pit stop while also dueling with the Lola in front of him of Paul de Resta. Paul's not going to be happy about that one. As Timo Glock now runs in second in front of Marc Genet in the Minardi. Rossi is 4th and Van Dorn is 5th. So Luciano Berti is in the pit lane now in the Midland. And Van Dorn is effectively now running in second place in this race, because once you take Glock, Genet and Rossi out of the equation for their pit stops, Van Dorn is actually going to be lapping fairly quickly, and he'll get onto the back bumper of these guys. Ericsson trying to make his way through on the AGS in front. That almost ended nasty. That's Lotterer he's trying to get an overtaking move on. So again, a mixture of fuel strategies. Always fascinating to observe. Now, Verne is not getting out of the way of his teammate. He's trying to pull away from his teammate. He wants to get a fastest lap or two on the board. He could still get a point for fastest lap, of course. So Davidson now trying to peel off around the outside of the Midland he's battling with. And Glock is in. Glock is in from P2. Rossi's in from 4. So we're about to see Rossi in the pits and Glock in the pits. So they are both in together. And that promotes Van Dorn to 3rd. De Grassi's going to go up to 4th place. There is Stoffel Van Dorn. Back into a podium paying position, and he is going a second a lap faster than the race leader Buemi. That's what his light fuel load and fresher tyres than Buemi is doing to the race. He's going about this the long way. So Van Dorn is doing a great job. Courtney, meanwhile, gets a move on Ericsson. So Courtney gets past Marcus Ericsson, and we're on board with Paul de Resta in the Lola. So far so good. A fascinating drive on lap 25 out of 80. And this is turning into an absolutely thrilling encounter as the cars continue to race around the circuit in good measure. But we are just getting started in the... oh, that's Lotterer! Lotterer's gone off! Now, that looks as though he's made the mistake himself. Let's look at the replay. And Lotterer... oh, yes, he's tried to get... oh, now he's tried to... that was James Courtney trying to get through. So Courtney made the move, and Lotterer had absolutely nowhere to go. So Courtney got impatient and forced Lotterer sideways. Now, that's going to be an interesting conversation between the team managers, Adam Weller and Phil Kench. Phil Kench is going to be there. Sorry, I for some reason, I thought he had an E in his surname for a moment. Sorry, Phil. But Phil Kench and Adam Weller having an issue there. And now he's let the 2 BARs go by. So I'm afraid that's any chance Lotterer had of repeating his victory at Marrakesh. Well and truly gone. Marc Genet in second now. 23 seconds back from race leader Buemi. And Van Dorn is 3rd. But Genet is due in for the pits in about 9 laps. But I think Van Dorn's not got that long before he comes into the pits again. But he's lapping pretty quick. Yes, look, he's gone for a shorter fuel load on fresher tyres. But he's going about this the long way because he knows that Buemi's going to need a stop later on. So if he goes heavy into the race... it's fascinating. Interesting bit of tactics there from Simtek to get him out in front of his rivals and pull away. And he is a good 3 seconds clear of de Grassi now. Heidfeld is further back than that. after his brake problems, and Heidfeld's got another stop to come, of course. So Heidfeld is going to be in the pits again. So we're about to see Rossi in the pits. And Van Dorn is in second. Then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. Then it's Van Dorn, Rossi, Van Dorn, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. So Gene is in second. Then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. Then it's Van Dorn, Rossi, Van Dorn. So Gene is in second. Then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. Then it's Van Dorn, Rossi, Van Dorn. So Gene is in second. Then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. Then it's Van Dorn, Rossi, Van Dorn. So Gene is in second. Then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. Then it's Van Dorn, Rossi, Van Dorn. So Gene is in second. Then it's Glock, Gene, Rossi, Van Dorn. Then it's Van Dorn, Rossi, Van So here is Heidfeld making the move on Degrassi. Oh, well, that's going to help Van Dorn, because if these guys keep battling, they're going to drop even further back from the Simtek in third. Jenny in second, though, for Minardi. That is Jenny in second. Out of the final turn, and begins lap 27. And there's Davidson making the bid on the Midland. It's so hard to make an overtake in that corner, though. That's the problem. Meanwhile, Vern is pulling away from his teammate and trying to close up on Luciano Berti. Now, I wonder, is that Vern just driving with the red mist, or has Buemi got a developing problem? Because Van Dorn is catching him very quickly as well. He's taken another second out of Buemi's advantage. So I wonder, has Buemi got a problem developing? He's certainly not got anything on the readout yet. But it's quite dramatic how Buemi's pace has fallen off in this stint. But that, of course, is largely down to his aging tyres. He's gone on those tyres for a long time, and Van Dorn's on fresher rubber. So Buemi is slower. This is a fascinating race. Buemi, Jene, Van Dorn, Degrassi and Heidfeld in the top 5. Then 6th is Hulkenberg. From Glock, Di Resta, Hartley and Della Rosa, who's got himself back into the points. Then it's Bourdais and Rossi, Bernaldi, Davidson and Courtney, who savaged Lotterer off the road a little earlier on. Then it's Ericsson and Tarquini, Alguersuari, Berti and Vern. And then in 21st it is Lotterer in front of Susie Wolf. And then the retirements: Bruno Senna, Taki Inui, Jean-Denis Delatraz and Kamui Kobayashi. Just 4 retirements so far, but we're not even halfway through. So this is Van Dorn in the Syntec, running well in 3rd position. Heidfeld making that mistake again at the hairpin. And that has backed him into Hulkenberg. So some big drama so far. Now I've been told that things are so tense at Simtek that Scott Woodwis is not prepared to talk to us. And I think that's fair enough, really, because the pressure is really on for him and the team. But I am going to go down to the pit lane and talk to a few of our other team managers. Well, we had a slight issue there with our comms there. I do apologise for that, but it came in exactly the wrong moment for Tarquini. So Tarquini having an issue, and that is Gabriele Tarquini, I'm afraid to say, now out of the race. So a big problem for the Italian. I do apologise that we lost comms there for a moment. We're not quite sure what they... Oh, that's Lotterer! Lotterer slowing. Lotterer in trouble as well. So Lotterer appears to be out of luck as well. That is game over for him. So he's not going to repeat his victory for Marrakesh. Now the cars are starting to drop like flies. Tarquini's gone. And now so too has Lotterer. So that's a big one for the AGS team, I'm afraid. So now we have 6 retirements. Lotterer, Tarquini, Senna, Inui, Delatraz and Kobayashi. As many drivers that failed to finish here as have failed to finish at failed to finish at Bathurst. But there's still a long way to go. This is only lap 30 of 80. And there is a long, long way left of this race. 50 laps remaining, in fact. So it's always going to be a very tough race to see how it continues on. Marc Genet in second position from Van Dorn and de Grassi, but Van Dorn has now got the gap down to under half a minute. So he's definitely making all the right moves at the moment. Sebastian Buemi trying to get away. Marc Genet in second and Stoffel Van Dorn giving chase in third position. De Grassi fourth and Heidfeld in fifth. So fascinating racing at the moment. But now we have a retirement from Gabriele Tarquini and we have a retirement from Andre Lotterer to add to the 4 that went out earlier on. So not good news at all for those guys up front. Here's Marc Genet. So Marc Genet still running a good race in second position at the moment. And he just needs to keep that together as he continues to charge his way forward. Buemi, Genet, Van Dorn, de Grassi and Heidfeld. Then in sixth position is Hulkenberg. After his pit stop, then Glock, Di Resta, Hartley and Della Rosa in the top 10. Then it is Bourdais, Rossi, Bernoldi, Davidson and Ericsson. And then in 16th is Courtney in front of Alguersuari, Verne, Bertie and Wolf. So fascinating racing so far. And they are the only 20 cars remaining as Heidfeld has a look on the inside of de Grassi. And that's held him up. He's not been able to commit to the move there. And that's backed him into Hulkenberg. Look at how fast Van Dorn has dropped these guys. It's absolutely thrilling to see how quickly he's getting on with it. And he is making mincemeat of Marc Genet's advantage. If you look back while looking at Marc Genet, it won't be too long before you start seeing Stoffel Van Dorn's Simtek. He's really getting on with it. Now this is the other Simtek. This is Ericsson trying to get past Anthony Davidson with no actual effects. And Davidson dives into the pits right across the path of Marcus Ericsson. That was a late call. So that ended up being a little bit more dramatic than it needed to be. But Anthony Davidson is in the pits, as you can see, as Stoffel Van Dorn continues to charge forward in the Simtek Ilmor. There's Bernoldi. Now, the Midland team have yet to score their first point of the season. In fact, there are 3 teams that haven't scored points so far this year. Midland is one of them. Prost is another one. And the third team that has not yet scored is the BMS Italia squad. So there are 3 teams yet to score. If Midland, BMS Italia and Prost could all get a point today, then every single team in the league has got themselves a point. This is Buemi. Sebastian Buemi continues to lead in the BAR. Genet second, Van Dorn third from de Grassi and Heidfeld. And into the pits comes Van Dorn. Now that's scheduled. So this is about the time we thought he was going to make a pit stop. So Van Dorn is in. De Grassi, Hulkenberg and Heidfeld all come through. Now let's watch. Van Dorn into the pits. Again, he's gone for a 3-stop strategy. Now that is fascinating. So Van Dorn's decided to go for a 3-stop strategy. It's very quick. 8.3 seconds and he's in and out now. Where does he get back out? He's going to get in front of Bourdais. He's going to be P11. And look at that. That's a fairy tale for Van Dorn. He's in clean air. So this is great news for Van Dorn. So far, so good for the aggressive 3-stop strategy, but it might just work. He was going rapidly quickly on Buemi. Certainly a podium is in the offing as Buemi laps Bourdais on his way out of the pits. But Buemi on very old tyres. It can't be long till he makes a pit stop. Yes, indeed, Buemi is due in any time now. And second place, Genet is coming into the pit lane at this exact moment. So Marc Genet in the Minardi is coming in from second. Now, this is going to be interesting because we've got the likes of de Grassi, Heidfeld and Hulkenberg, and some of them are coming into the pits as well. I think Heidfeld is coming in. So here is Genet from P2. Now, what he could do with is Heidfeld going through and stopping before he moves, and that's gone perfectly for the Minardi. Now, how long into the pits? They're going all the way to the end, you see. So Genet's on a 1-stop strategy. Now, that's very aggressive from Genet. So he's going a long way into the race. He's going to just do a 1-stop strategy by the look of it and try and make it to the end of the race. But that's bold because the fuel depletion here is quite high. So I'm not sure he's going to get away with that. But interestingly, because he's been in the pits for a fair amount of time, who's beat him out of the pit lane? Stoffel Van Dorn. Van Dorn's overtaken him through the pit stops. So Van Dorn's now up into P9. And that's going to help him out an awful lot. That is Susie Wolf on her own in the Lola. Having a bit of a quiet race at the back, unfortunately, in 20th position. Although it's about to be 19th because she'll overtake Enrique Benoldi in the Midland, who's now in the pits. So Wolf is going to go back up to 19th as a result of that. At least I believe she is. That might be DeResta we were watching there. I do apologise. But there is the battle between Degrassi and Hulkenberg. And this is for second position at the moment. With Timo Glock there in 4th and DeResta in 5th. So Van Dorn on an aggressive 3-stop strategy. Speed and fresh tyres definitely giving him a good shot at the podium. It's a long way round, but I think it's going to work. Certainly going to give him good points if he can hold it together. So Buemi has just lapped Sebastian Bourdais, who's using the slipstream to stay with Sebastian Buemi. Nothing wrong with that, and Buemi is coming in. Oh, Buemi having an awful problem there. I think he suddenly realised he was due for a pit stop, but he was put off there a little bit by Bourdais. So Buemi, he's trying to throw this race away every time he gets an opportunity, isn't he? So Buemi is in the pits. Let's have a look at the stop. And he's going to go all the way to the end, so he's not going to have any more pit stops, but he's going to carry a lot of fuel. Look, 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 11 and a half seconds for the pit stop. But can he make this work to the end of the race? That's a bold strategy. That's very tough from Buemi. It's 50-50 as to whether that's going to work as well. Will he even rejoin without losing the lead? In fact, he does continue in the lead of the race. There's Degrassi and Hulkenberg. So he's just got to have a cautious race now, basically, Buemi. Just stay in the lead of the race. So it could well be 2 wins in a row for BAR. And they've had an awful lot of luck through the first few races. They've had a bit of overdriving from Buemi as well. De La Rosa and Alex Rossi both in the pits. So they both make pit stops, but it's Buemi who leads. Degrassi second, Hulkenberg third from Glock and DeResta. So now Buemi is your leader, and that's his one and only pit stop through the race. Now, fascinating because it's not really clear who's going to have had the best strategy from this until all the pit stops play out. But certainly, there is a fascinating dynamic. So we've got some very fast drivers out there on the circuit. But through all of that, Van Dorn has made up about a dozen seconds on the race lead through the pit stop phase. Oh, Degrassi in trouble! Degrassi, the car's on fire! The car's on fire for Degrassi! Hulkenberg has got a wall of flame he's trying to drive through. And that's game over for Degrassi. I'm not sure he even realises it yet. But that is a big issue for Degrassi. There he is. And his car is going to pull off surely at turn 1. No, he's not going to pull off at turn 1. Now it is. Oh, right in the path of the Super Aguri. But it's game over for Lucas Degrassi. Another retirement for the Manatee. Right when it was going so beautifully as well. Big shame for Degrassi. But that's one of the big players in this race now removed. And for the man who's just overtaken him, Stoffel Van Dorn, that's another obstacle between himself and a podium. So that's a big one. Marc Genet running well. This is what he's so good at. He puts the car in a good position, just drives the car, doesn't over push it. And he's able to get himself into a strong points position. He's in 7th place now. And there's still a heck of a long way to go in this race. He could get even more from this race. Whoops, James Courtney nearly throwing away the team's first points there as he just kicks the gravel in the midsection of the lap. They're in 9th place at the moment. Ericsson's in P8. So through all of this, Ericsson's actually got himself into a pretty cushy position, playing the long game himself. They're on a split strategy, those two. I think Ericsson's on a 2-stopper and Van Dorn's on a 3-stopper, and I'm fairly sure that Ericsson's now going to have a good chance to score points as well. But Hulkenberg's in P2. Glock is now in P3 looking for a podium. Fascinating situation. But now we have 19 cars. Degrassi is out, and he was in P2 at the time. So Buemi is your leader. Oh, here comes a move from Heidfeld. Oh, he tried to get the move on the inside of James Courtney, and that was not going to happen. James Courtney. Oh, Buemi's now in trouble. The race leader's gone. The race leader's gone. Oh, Sebastian Buemi was looking good for the victory, and now it's all over. Sebastian Buemi is out. That is catastrophic bad fortune, and the BAR dream dies. So Hulkenberg now takes over the lead of the race. Glock is in second, De Resta third from Hartley and Van Dorn. It's all bets off now. So this race has come alive. Unfortunately for BAR, Sebastian Buemi is out, and this race has suddenly transformed. So Hulkenberg is now your leader. Glock in second from De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. So any one of the top 5 could win this race now, very easily. They've all got differing strategies, but their big obstacle was Buemi, and now he's out. And Hulkenberg pits from the lead. So Hulkenberg pits from the race lead. That gives the lead now to Timo Glock. So Glock is now the race leader. Brendan Hartley up into third position as a result of that, behind De Resta. Van Dorn up into P4, just 11 seconds off the lead. And we're with Hulkenberg in the pits. Now, where's he going to rejoin? That's going to be the key factor. He's not in the top 5 anymore. Marc Genet's driven through. This is De Resta on board, looking back at the local hero, Brendan Hartley. What if Brendan Hartley could get a victory on home soil? There wouldn't be a dry eye in the house. But at the expense of his teammate Lucas Di Grassi, and Hartley has yet to score a point this year, don't forget. He's come close to the victory at South Africa, but it all went wrong. And now it's Buemi. His car caught fire and he's out of the race. They did say, coming into this race, that although they were conservative at Bathurst, being out in hot conditions for 2 consecutive races were going to take their toll on the cars, and Buemi out now makes it quite the thrill fest. Glock is your leader, De Resta second, Hartley third, Van Dorn is fourth. This race, all of a sudden, has a real sting in the tail. And before the retirements of Buemi and Di Grassi, the man who was in third position, Van Dorn, now has a genuine crack at the victory, when so far this season, Simtek has barely won an absolute sausage from this race, from this season. So there is Glock leading the way now from De Resta and Hartley, who are duelling, and Van Dorn is catching them all. He is now just 10 seconds back from Timo Glock. We're at the halfway point of the race on the next lap. 40 laps, I should say, will be completed at the end of this one, as Brendan Hartley has a look at Paul Di Resta up in front. There's Van Dorn. He is catching them rapidly. He's taken 0.4 of a second out of Glock in the last sector alone. So this 3-stop strategy might just be working out for Van Dorn. He's got to play the long game to get there, but with his biggest obstacles now removed, he's got a shot as Bertie gets a little bit crossed up at turn 1. Several drivers making the mistake there, but certainly the top 4 drivers plus Nico Hulkenberg have a great shot at winning this race now. Genet's not a million miles away from it. It's a long way to go, and it's a tough old race. There could be quite a few cars dropping out of it yet. So it's still not a guaranteed thing up amongst the leaders that they're going to have the best shot at the win. Look how quickly Van Dorn is catching up with De Resta and Hartley. He's really getting there now. And I have to say, the star of the weekend thus far has got to be Stoffel Van Dorn. He's just transformed the team's fortunes. He's picked it up and run with it this weekend, right from qualifying. And now he's got a good shot at the win. The pole sitter Sebastian Buemi is no longer in the equation. There's Timo Glock leading. The last time Timo Glock led a race was at Kyalami, and it didn't last long. But at the moment, he is doing a grand job out in front. Di Resta second, Hartley third, Van Dorn is fourth at the moment, and they're all covered by less than 9 seconds. Genet is in 5th position in the Minardi. In P6, it is Ericsson. 7th is Hulkenberg. 8th is James Courtney. 9th is Heidfeld. And 10th is De La Rosa. Now, that would be the first points of the season for Courtney, for Van Dorn, and also for Hartley, if it stays like this. So, some big races on the mark. Look, Van Dorn's going for Hartley already, and he's through. Has Hartley got a problem? I think Hartley's in trouble. He's got a brake problem. Now, if he could bring that to the pits, they could get it sorted and get him back out again. They are so lucky, and he's got low fuel anyway, so again, they need to change the strategy here and now for Hartley. So, he did have an issue. He was crawling to the pits with a brake problem. Now, they've got to change up the fuel strategy. Yes, they're going to now fuel him to the end. So, they're going to go long on the strategy for Hartley. He's got away with that. He was lucky. And a very quick stop indeed as well. 10.5 seconds. Fuels him to the end of the race because he went slightly over the halfway point. So he's got a little bit less fuel to put in, but he's out of the points for the moment. So he's dropped out of the points, but there's a long way still to go. How about this for a top 5? 10 laps ago, you wouldn't have even considered this. Glock is your leader, De Resta second, Van Dorn third, Jenny fourth, and Ericsson fifth. Absolutely astonishing how this race is turning around. And the misfortunes of some has become the luck of others. And that's in differing races as they've correlated across. So Glock is your leader. De Resta second. Van Dorn is third. Jenny, Ericsson, Hulkenberg. Courtney is seventh. Great result for him if he can stay there. As Van Dorn closes right up on Paul De Resta. There's Jean-Eric Verne. Championship leader. After his earlier off and dropping to the back of the field, he finds himself down in P16. Struggling to get past the Midland. Hartley is 11th after the pit stop. Then it's Rossi, Bertie, Davidson, Bernaldi, Verne, Alguersuari and Wolf. And that's it. Buemi's out, Degrassi's out, then Lotterer, Tarquini, Senna, Inui, Delatraz and Kobayashi all out of the race. But there's your leader, Timo Glock, in front of Paul De Resta and Stoffel Van Dorn. And Verne is still struggling to get past Bernaldi. He's getting so frustrated. Meanwhile, on board with Marcus Ericsson, he can't believe his luck. He's in P5. He's just stayed out there, got on with his strategy, and he's now in a points-paying position. Now, what's his fuel strategy like? He's about to pit in, and Hulkenberg's going to the end. So Ericsson's still with a chance of good points here, but he's in P5 and about to make a pit stop. So it's not all as it seems. Hulkenberg's about to take back that top 5 position. What's Glock like on fuel? He's running a bit low, but De Resta and Van Dorn likewise. Now, De Resta's going to pit in before Van Dorn. Van Dorn's still on a good run. Now, he can undercut De Resta. If they're going to go to the end of the race with this next pit stop, then there is a good chance that this is going to be all the way to the wire. Now, if I'm Simtech, I'm going to change the strategy at the next pit stop. I'm going to go to the end of the race at this one because I'm fairly sure that the other guys are as well. And Van Dorn's lapping quicker than Glock and De Resta in their current form. So if I'm the team strategist on the pit wall, I'm going to fuel them to the end because there's a good chance that they can outpace the guys around them. He's quicker than Glock. He's quicker than De Resta. He's got a great chance. There is De Resta, second place. And Stoffel Van Dorn's all over the back of him. What a fascinating Grand Prix it's turned out to be. The Grand Prix of New Zealand here on the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park at Taupo is absolutely delivering in spades. Glock is your leader. De Resta, Van Dorn. Here's Verne making the move on the inside of Bernaldi and not going to make that one work, mate. Sorry, but that was never going to happen in a month of Sundays, not when Bernaldi was already committed to the inside apex. And that's Alguersuari behind them, I do believe. Well, Timo Glock's not pitting yet, but he's not far away from it. And De Resta can't be far from his pit stop yet either. Oh, De Resta spun on his way to the pits, and that's held up Van Dorn. Now, that's a big problem for Van Dorn, but fortunately, he got away without damage. No damage for Van Dorn. That's cost him a couple of seconds, but De Resta is all right with that. He's come into the pits. He's managed to get there. That's held up Van Dorn to the tune of 2 seconds, but he's still very much in contention for this win. So Bertie is battling with Davidson. De Resta's in the pits, and that's going to drop him probably down to about 6th position, I would think. And Ericsson's in the pits as well. Again, that's the plan. That's the schedule. James Courtney is now in P5 for BMS Italia. What an absolutely incredible order we have here. With so many of the big players gone, Degrassi's out, Buemi's out, Verne is virtually out. He's not quite out of the race. Kobayashi's out. Lotterer's down the order, as is teammate Rossi. So we're going to get a completely different race winner. And it's almost certainly going to be a 4th different team as well. There's Van Dorn in 2nd. And he's not let that little hold-up delay him at all, really. He's picked up the pace again. And he's got a clear track in front of him. He's in P2. And he's looking good to close up on Timo Glock. Now, I have a feeling those two are going to pit at the same time. Bourdais makes an aggressive lunge and gets into P6 on Heidfeld. Big move there from Bourdais. And manages to get himself up another place. And Marc Genet, 3rd position, struggling at the final chicane. And yet again, Marc Genet is right there where he needs to be. He is such a smart driver, is Marc Genet. He always just seems to be able to put himself in the right place at the right time to pick up points. And he's there in 3rd again. So Marc Genet looking for another podium as he managed to deliver in Marrakesh. And the Minardi just ticking over nicely. He never really does an outstanding job in terms of qualifying pace, but he's always there in race trim. Timo Glock leads the way in the Super Aguri with the Mugen engine. Pedro De La Rosa has got himself back into the points. He's there in P8. Everyone at Prost is crossing everything. Fingers, toes, knees, shoulders, and even buns at the moment to try and get that car home in the points. They could really use the points, to be fair. Van Dorn likewise in second place. And he is having an absolutely heroic run here in P2. He's just got to keep it going. Susie Wolf pits in from the back of the field. Bourdais having a crack up the inside of Heidfeld. Those two are battling away again. Heidfeld's repassed Bourdais. And now he's struggling to keep De La Rosa at bay. See, there's a whole host of drivers who could become podium finishers if the worst happens up front. But there's still a lot of talent to come in this race, and there's still a heck of a lot of racing. We're on lap 47 out of 80. And it's Timo Glock who leads. Van Dorn second. Genet third from Hulkenberg and Courtney. In sixth position, it is Heidfeld from Bourdais and De La Rosa. Then it is De Resta and Hartley in the top 10. Then in 11th place, it is Alex Rossi in front of Luciano Berti and Anthony Davidson. Then Marcus Ericsson in 14th. Oh, that's Timo Glock pulling off. That's the race leader. Problems for Timo Glock. It's game over at Super Aguri completely now. Well, certainly for the race lead. And there goes Van Dorn. Van Dorn goes through it into the lead. Stoffel Van Dorn takes the lead in Taupo as Timo Glock becomes the latest race leader to be out of the race with gearbox problems. Oh my goodness. Another race lead. Absolutely destroyed. And that gives Van Dorn the lead of the race in front of Marc Genet. So Van Dorn is your leader. Genet second. Hulkenberg third. James Courtney's up to fourth now, would you believe? And Van Dorn makes his scheduled pit stop from the lead. So Van Dorn leading the race. Let's see if we can get down there and into his pit stop. He had an electrical issue. He had an electrical issue developing. Now, he's been able to bring that into the pits just in the nick of time. And yes, they've done exactly what I said they should. They have gone to the end of the race on the fuel strategy. All his main opposition are now vanquished. He's going to rejoin in about 10th position because of that ailing electrical problem. But he's still got a chance in this race because everybody in front of him still needs to make a pit stop. And Genet is now your race leader as a result of that. Genet leading, Hulkenberg second, Courtney in third, Heidfeld in fourth, Bourdais in fifth. Oh my word, this race has got so many twists and turns. So the race lead, it seems like a jinx. Everybody who gets the race lead ends up retiring or having a problem. I think, to be fair, Stoffel Van Dorn got away with that one beautifully. He will have lost some time, but at least he hasn't lost the race. Because he keeps going, he brings it to the pits just in the nick of time before it becomes a terminal problem. But what a dramatic race this is. Marc Genet is now your race leader in front of Nico Hulkenberg. James Courtney is in third. There he is. He is absolutely loving life in P3. The BMS Italia, that car was dead last in the hands of Stefano Modena for most of the early part of the season, and Courtney has now got it as high as third. Heidfeld is fourth. De La Rosa is fifth. Bourdais sixth from De Resta, Hartley. Van Dorn has rejoined in ninth, but he's only 10 seconds off the lead. And Rossi is 10th. Now, by my calculation, everybody in front of Van Dorn still has to make a pit stop. At least one more. So, well, let's double check it. Let's have a look. Marc Genet. Marc Genet's got to go to the end of the race, but he is not as fast as Van Dorn. Now, there's going to be... Well, Hulkenberg's going long. Courtney's about to come in. Heidfeld's going long. De La Rosa's got to make a pit stop. So is Bourdais. De Resta's going long, as is Hartley. But Van Dorn is in there as well. So there's still a really big battle in the top 9 for who is going to get to the victory. It's still anybody's guess. Jenny and Hulkenberg are now battling for the win. And both of these guys are going to the end of the race, essentially. Courtney's got to pit in. But this is an absolute thrill fest of a race. And it's not clear. At the moment, it's between Jenny and Hulkenberg, but they are not going as fast as Van Dorn, who is currently 9th, but he's going to be elevated to the top 5 within the course of the next 4 laps. This is a crazy race. As into the pits comes Courtney. Courtney comes in from P3, and that removes him from the equation. And now it's Jenny and Hulkenberg for victory. Verne is trying to make the move on the inside of Bernaldi again, and still... Jean-Eric Verne knows exactly how David Coulthard feels, as Bertie goes for the pits at the same time Davidson's going around the track. So causes a bit of an issue. So Marc Genet into the pits. Marc Genet is battling still with Hulkenberg. There's only 0.2 of a second between them. And into the pits comes Bernaldi. We're on board with Hulkenberg. So Hulkenberg in P2. Right in there behind Marc Genet. This is the race lead. These two are actually battling away. So down the straight. That long back straight. Marc Genet and Nico Hulkenberg battling for the victory. The top 6 are absolutely in this hunt. There's 10 seconds between the top 6 cars, and any one of them could win. Genet has a massive pressure cooker brewing from Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is going to try and make his bid, I'm sure, anytime soon on Marc Genet. He will want to take this lead, and he's basically got 30 laps of staring at the exhaust. But Genet is not a quick car by comparison to those behind it. So the likes of Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn are all going to catch him. So Genet's basically just got to play defensive for 30 laps. And that's not going to be easy with the likes of Nico Hulkenberg on his tail. There's Heidfeld in third, but I'm fairly sure he's going to the end of the race as well. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. So the top 6 are all together on the same bit of racetrack, battling for the lead, but Van Dorn's going to need to do some overtakes. Fortunately, he's got a competitive car and 30 laps, and he's only 9 seconds off the lead, if that. No, it's 8.5 seconds off the lead, in fact. Now, if they can work together, karting style, they can all close up on Marc Genet, and then it really is all bets off, and 6 cars from 6 different teams will battle for the victory here at Taupo. This is turning into the most incredible race we have had all season long. There's 8 seconds now between the entire field in the top 6 battling for victory. Genet, Hulkenberg, Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley, Van Dorn. Genet missed a gear there down into the first corner. Hulkenberg got very close to him again. This is very tough stuff for Alex Goldschmidt sat on pit road. This is agonising. Watching for the next 30 laps as Marc Genet holds the lead through clever tactics and strategy and the misfortunes of others, but he's got to hang on to this for 29 laps of the Taupo circuit. Heidfeld's going well, but not as well as the 3 cars behind. He's being caught. So the gap is down to 4.7 as he catches up to Genet and Hulkenberg. But De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn, they are nose to tail and they are closing the leaders as well. This is going to be a 6-way fight for the victory. Science tells you that this is going to be an absolute rip-roar of a race. And that's Alguersuari diving up the inside of Verne in the first corner to try and get into 12th. And he hasn't been able to do that. Now Verne might be able to get into the points at this stage. He's in 12th at the moment. He's got a chance of getting a point from this race. As too, incredibly, is Luciano Berti in the Midland. They have yet to score a point. Now, where is James Courtney these days? Well, he's in 8th, actually, behind Rossi. So he's still got a good chance of 4 points. And De La Rosa is in 9th after his issues. Bourdais is 10th for Onyx. Then 11th is Bernaldi. And Heidfeld going wide at turn 1. Oh, the pressure is on. The pressure's really on, and that's going to cost him a lot of time to the likes of De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. So the 4 cars now in 3rd position fight are closing in on the leaders. There's 7.5 seconds between the top 6 cars. This is such a great Grand Prix now. Hulkenberg in 2nd place. And that's Courtney running wide at turn 1 himself. I wonder if there's oil down from the fire of Degrassi, because cars are really struggling to hold it. Either that or somebody's got a problem developing and it's potentially trailing water or oil onto the circuit. But James Courtney again was lucky there as Hulkenberg lines up Genet down the back straight. There is Heidfeld in the background. There's De Resta, then Hartley, then Van Dorn. That's how close the race is for the victory. 6 cars all on the same bit of racetrack on lap 53 of 80. They're about to go into lap 54. And this race is going all the way to the finish with a thrilling battle in prospect. What a race. Look at that. All 6 cars in within sight of each other. This Grand Prix is magic. Genet leads Hulkenberg by less than 0.4 of a second. Heidfeld is 3rd. De Resta is in 4th. Hartley is 5th and Van Dorn is 6th. And then they've got about a dozen seconds back to the next man in. That's Alex Rossi. This race has got so much drama still to come. And there's now 6 seconds, roughly 6.5 seconds between all 6 cars, because De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn are catching Heidfeld rapidly. So Heidfeld doesn't seem to have the pace to run with the De Resta, Hartley, Van Dorn train, and that's largely because of Van Dorn. So this is absolutely brilliant. Now, Heidfeld there in 3rd position, running a good race, but the podium is looking very tetchy at the moment. De Resta's running reasonably well in 4th place in the Lola. He's got himself, into a very strong position there. Hartley, though, he's got a cracking chance of a podium, and on home soil as well, the Kiwi. So he's there in P5. Now, back to the leaders. That's Hulkenberg looking at Marc Genet. He still hasn't quite been able to go for the overtaking move, though. So that kind of gives us the indication that the Mugen is not quite able to get on terms with the Lamborghini engine. And there is the championship leader, Jean-Eric Vergne, still stuck behind Bertie. He's been stuck behind him for the pretty much majority of this race. And he just hasn't been able to find a method to get through yet. So Genet is your leader. Hulkenberg, 2nd. Heidfeld, De Resta and Hartley. Then in 6th place is Van Dorn. Here's Heidfeld. And that is De Resta in the Lola in P4 in front of Hartley's Manor and Van Dorn's Simtek. 6 cars. Less than 6 seconds now is the gap. 5.6 seconds between them all. And Ericsson's feeling brave. Oh, he had to think about Bernoldi, but he's had to back out of that one. So, a couple of issues through the race then. But now the leading gaggle is tightening up. There is Heidfeld in 3rd position, chasing after those 2 leaders. 6 cars in the hunt for victory. Any one of them could get the win on lap 55 out of 80. And all it's going to take now is a few brave manoeuvres from a couple of drivers in the pack. See, I have to say that Hulkenberg is doing the right thing here, essentially. He's just sat behind Genet. You only need to lead 1 lap, and it's the last one. So he's just sitting behind Genet, counting down laps, looking after the car as Susie Wolf goes a little bit too deep into one of the apexes there. Nearly loses the car, and she's about to be lapped for technically the first time, because every time a race leader has lapped slower traffic, that leader has then eventually retired from the race, because we had Glock leading, he's out. Buemi was leading, he's out. All sorts of drama, but Marc Genet leads. Hulkenberg in 2nd place in the Arrows. Here he is. Now, how close is Heidfeld? 3 seconds back now. So Genet is really holding them up. So Genet leads Hulkenberg, Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. And there's about 5 seconds between them all now. Less than that. The gaggle tightens up. And that's De La Rosa. Not again! Oh, agony. Agony for the Prost team. And Pedro De La Rosa. What do they have to do to catch a break? Pedro De La Rosa pulls the car off the circuit and it's out again. Devastating misfortune for Prost. What do they have to do? It just seems that the Ford engine in that car, of course they ran back in the day with Peugeots, but they run with Fords at the moment, and for some reason the Ford engine is just so unreliable. The Ford package, it just isn't working. And now Jean-Eric Vergne, incredibly, is a place away from the points. Jaime Alguersuari is 2 places away from the points in the other Prost. But that's no comfort to Tom Cairns, who yet again sees the misfortune and disaster of the Prost package. It's yet again come to bite them. So Genet leads. Hulkenberg 2nd, less than 2/10 back. Heidfeld is now only 2.3 seconds behind the race leader Marc Genet, who is desperately trying to hang on to the lead, despite the fact he's being caught by 4 cars. Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. So here's the opportunity for Hulkenberg. He again has a look into the chicane. He again can't quite commit to the overtake. This is the thing. You've got to be brave if you want to make an overtaking move here at Taupo. And clever strategy has put Genet out in front. And the 5 cars behind all have a chance to win. This is going to be very similar, I think, to Harama 81, when Jacques Villeneuve had to hold on to the lead with 4 very quick cars in his wake. And this is going to be a very similar sort of race. Heidfeld in 3rd. 4th is De Resta. Then Hartley and Van Dorn. There's nothing in this at all now. 4.5 seconds is the gap between the top 5 cars. There's Alexander Rossi. Now, Rossi's actually catching this slot as well, I should point out. The gap's come down to 15 seconds between Rossi in 7th and the race leader, Marc Genet. Courtney and Bourdais are battling for 8th at the moment, and Bernaldi is in that critical 10th place that would give Midland their first point of the season. But Prost's Jaime Alguersuari in 12th wants to get there because that would be Prost's first point of the season. And that's Bernaldi running wide! The wrong moment! Well, Verne and Alguersuari, battling for the final place in the points, are now right in there behind him. So there's battles everywhere in this race. Absolutely terrific. And that's for the crucial final point that puts Midland into the team standings. Or it could put BAR 1 point further up the road. Or it could put Prost into the team standings. Look how close it is now between the top 3. Genet, Hulkenberg and Heidfeld. So Genet, Hulkenberg and Heidfeld, less than 2 seconds is the gap now. Genet is doing his best to hang on, but Heidfeld is just closing up to Hulkenberg. And Hulkenberg there in the arrows in 2nd place. He's looking for his moment. Here comes Verne, trying again. Can't quite get through on Bernaldi. So he tries again to get past Enrique Bernaldi, and he can't make it stick. This is fascinating. James Courtney's looking like he's going to get at least 8th, possibly 9th if Bourdais can get through in the Onyx. So this is a fascinating race still. And the last 10 laps have essentially tightened up the field in the top 6 because they are going to be on track together. And this is going to be about how they get through the traffic. This is going to be about how they look after the car, how they look after the tyres, how hard they push in the fuel loads. But the key men in this battle have been Hulkenberg and, for me, Hartley and Van Dorn. They have been the 2 guys who've been really working. Van Dorn has a look at Hartley. That's his first major bid. See, he's getting frustrated. He's getting impatient. But that will drop him back a little bit, but not enough to be worried. Heidfeld, meanwhile, has caught right up to Genet and Hulkenberg. The gap is virtually nothing as Bernaldi with an engine failure. Oh, there goes the final point for Midland. Still, they have yet to score a point. Very similar to Prost. But if Alguersuari can get on terms with Verne, they get back into the points. But it's game over for Bernaldi. He was looking good for the final point there. And the Midland is now out of the race. That is devastatingly bad luck. And here come the leaders. Look, it's a 3-car train now. Genet, Hulkenberg and Heidfeld. Less than a second in it. Well, this Grand Prix is definitely going to be a thriller now. For the last 20 laps. And there is 20 laps of this left. With 4 seconds covering the top 6 cars. And there's going to be less than that. Genet overcooks it a little into the hairpin. He was lucky to get away with that. Down the back straight. Trying to get away. See, the Lamborghini's got grunt. It's got enough grunt to be starting to get away. Heidfeld is now getting frustrated behind Hulkenberg, thinking, right, I've been staring at you guys for ages. Now I want to go for it. So is Heidfeld going to make an overtaking move on Hulkenberg before Hulkenberg goes for Genet? We're definitely getting into the pressure cooker part of the race now. And because these 3 are all holding each other up, because Genet's holding up Hulkenberg and Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn are now closing right up. 6 different cars. Minardi, Arrows, Super Aguri, Lola, Manor, Simtek. All 6 cars are going to be in a line and they're going to be battling for the victory. What a race. You couldn't make this up. You really couldn't make this up. So Genet, Hulkenberg, Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley, Van Dorn. 6 cars will be battling for the victory here in Taupo. And to be fair, all of them deserve the victory. They've all driven beautifully. Hulkenberg's got himself into a smart position behind Genet as they maximise their strategy. Heidfeld has worked hard to close up on these 2. He's had a couple of mistakes of his own, but Heidfeld has a good chance of winning this. In 4th place, De Resta has just looked solid and smooth throughout, as he has since the start of the season in the Lola. Looks very good indeed and comfortable for a podium here, Paul De Resta. And in 5th place, Brendan Hartley on home soil has given Manor a bit of a reprieve from what happened to them at Kyalami. So this is a good opportunity to grab a victory. And then in 6th place, of course, Van Dorn, who's been an absolute shining star compared to the first 3 races. He's finally got the package he likes together on a circuit that flows for him. And it's looking good. So hopefully if these 6 can at least stay in the race, then we'll get a thrilling battle between all 6. And we'll get a good battle for race victory. But it's so tight. 62 laps will be completed at the end of this one. And they have now caught up with, to lap, Susie Wolf. Now, this is going to get interesting as they lap the Lola for the first time. And I would not be too surprised if Susie Wolf had some instructions from Kai Bacchini to try and help out Di Resta in some way. Because Di Resta is there in P4. If she can back the leaders into the 3 cars further back, then there is a chance here for Di Resta to go for a victory. It might be a bit of a team strategy. This is Susie Wolf. She's there in 15th. She's been a point scorer twice so far this season, of course, as well. But she's not being caught fast enough by Marc Genet to really need to get out of the way. So she comes through out of the final few corners. And there are 3 very impatient racing drivers. Now Genet's going to get past. Hulkenberg's going to get through as well. Is he? Wolf is trying to stay in the gaggle. And that has helped out Hulkenberg, but it's not helped out Heidfeld. Heidfeld's been backed into the Resta. Well, this is critical stuff, lapping the back markers. They need to do this sensibly. Wolf has been nerfed by her own teammate. Di Resta gets through. So too does the Manor. And Van Dorn in the Simtek needs to follow through as well. Go on, Stoffel, get the foot down in there, and he has done. Well, that was close. That was very close. That's shaking it up a little bit. Susie Wolf trying to help out her teammate, and in the end, Paul Di Resta got impatient and actually nudged her out the way. Well, that's an interesting conversation the team manager's got to have later, and that's given a bit of a rest to Hulkenberg. That's helped out Nico Hulkenberg. It's not helped out Heidfeld or the other 3. So Di Resta, Hartley, Van Dorn, all still in the mix there. And Susie Wolf has now rather sneakily wandered into the slipstream of Stoffel Van Dorn to try and stay with them. So here we are with Marc Genet. Through the final turn and onto the home stretch. And that completes lap 63. Lap 63 of 80 is now completed. So there's still 17 laps to go, including this one. But it's going to be a tough old race to hang on to this. Marc Genet has been leading since lap 49. And he's trying his best to hang on to the race lead here. When Sebastian Buemi blew his tire. In fact, I think it might have been lap 47 when Genet took the lead, in fact. So that would be an amazing run. He's held on to it for an incredible amount of time. And that's Hartley. A mistake from Brendan Hartley. And that's given Van Dorn a little bit of an opportunity. So Van Dorn now trying to get back on terms with Hartley. These guys are still within 5 seconds of each other, would you believe? That is absolutely astonishing how close this Grand Prix is. And it's going to have to go a little bit further before we get to the business end of Grand Prix racing. But the top 6 have really earned it today. All of them deserve to finish in the points. All of them deserve to be in the top 6. But in what order is it going to happen? Marc Genet still trying to hold on in front of Hulkenberg. And look, Heidfeld's just able to catch right back up to them again. So Heidfeld is just able to close back up to Genet and Hulkenberg. But Hulkenberg is being patient here. He's not going for an overtake until he has to. From his point of view, the only lap he needs to lead is the last one. So he can just let Genet do all the hard work here. And Genet is doing an incredible amount of hard work to hang on to this lead. I bet Van Dorn and Simtek must be ruining their electrical issue because they might have got out in the lead in front of Genet and Hulkenberg had that not been the case. But they're still going to get some good points on the board, and that's really going to help in terms of their development. But Genet, Hulkenberg, Heidfeld, Di Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. And the gap between them all now is less than 5 seconds. Well, the retirements are Bernaldi, Della Rosa, Glock, Buemi, De Grassi, Lotterer, Tarquini, Senna, Inui, Delatraz and Kobayashi. It's a lot of drivers on the sidelines. There are still 15 cars remaining. 10 of them score points, of course. But it's Marc Genet who leads. Hulkenberg second. Heidfeld third from Di Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. And all 6 of them are less than 5 seconds apart. In 7th place, it is Alex Rossi. 8th is James Courtney, and he's having a great race, actually. He's been able to hang on in front of Sebastian Bourdais for a heck of a long time in 8th place. And Jean-Eric Verne in the BAR is in the final points-paying position in 10th and is pulling away from Jaime Alguersuari in 11th. Then Bertie, Ericsson, Davidson and Susie Wolf. Now, Ericsson is trying to get back on terms with Luciano Bertie but can't make an overtaking move. But if I'm Alguersuari, I'm praying that one of the drivers in front drops out, because I'm in 11th position at the moment if I'm Jaime Alguersuari, and one more place will get Prost their first point. But it looks as though BMS Italia might be getting their first point as well, in the shape of James Courtney being in 8th position. In fact, they'd get 4 points on the board if Courtney came home in 8th. A great run from him in New Zealand. So Marc Genet leads. Hulkenberg, Heidfeld, De Resta, Hartley, Van Dorn. How is Marc Genet hanging on to this? He's doing such a good job leading this race comfortably with the big, big pressure of Hulkenberg and Heidfeld behind him, and they are less than a second behind him now. It's going to be impatience and a brave move that changes the lead of this race. But Marc Genet is just taking it easy. He's just keeping it together. He doesn't need to panic. He doesn't need to stress. And this is going to be a tough one to win. He knows that. Genet, Hulkenberg and Heidfeld. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. That's how close they are. You saw them all together in that same shot. The top 6 cars fighting for victory. 3 of them out on their own. Oh, Jean-Eric Verne getting it slightly wrong on the way onto the back straight. He's already made a big mistake today. He spun out when he was trying to fight his way through. He could have been the winner of this race had he just kept himself together in the early stages. But Jean-Eric Verne is about to, well, I was about to say, is he about to lose the lead of the Drivers' Championship? I'll have to double check on that one, because currently, well, the driver's standings are as currently follows. Verne is leading with 47 points to Kamui Kobayashi. Is that Heidfeld going for Hulkenberg? It is. Heidfeld is going for Hulkenberg. Heidfeld's trying to draw alongside Hulkenberg. Can he commit to the move? Yes, he does, and Heidfeld gets second. Heidfeld into second place. Good overtaking move for the Super Aguri. Hulkenberg waited too long to go for the bid on Marc Genet, and that's Davidson pulling off. Davidson is off the road. Now, what's the matter with him? He's got a gearbox issue as well. He got stuck in gear, and Davidson is out of the race. So, unfortunately, that's one of the 2 Minardis now out of the race. Now, I was going to say, Verne, from what I can tell, is not going to lose the lead of the Drivers' Championship, whatever happens, because De Grassi is out. So is Kobayashi. Lotterer isn't out, but he's not in a points-paying position at the moment. He's in... oh, no, sorry, Lotterer is out of the race. I do apologise. So Lotterer is one of the retirements. So he's not going to score. Nor is Kobayashi, nor is De Grassi. Marc Genet, if he hangs on to this, is going to get 25. And that's going to put him on to 41. So within 6 points of Verne, unless Verne finishes 10th, in which case it'll be 7 points of him. So whatever happens, Verne is not going to lose the lead of the Drivers' Championship, but a 10th position finish will extend his lead very slightly. So Heidfeld is now deciding, well, Hulkenberg hasn't been able to go for the overtaking move. I can go for it. So he's got past Hulkenberg, made that difficult move happen, and now he's going to go after Marc Genet. And that gives a glimmer of hope to everybody else. Still, that 3-car battle behind for 4th as Hulkenberg tries to close back up. Now, Hulkenberg will want to get back on terms with these two, because Heidfeld looks like he's more up for the scrap than Hulkenberg was. Now, if he can get in there at the same time as Heidfeld, he can storm himself back into 2nd place. But he needs to get on with this now. It's critical. Heidfeld is the man on the move, and it looks to me as though it's going to be Nick Heidfeld that's got the best chance of going for the victory. In fact, he's working with Genet to try and get away from Hulkenberg. He's leaving his move till the right moment. But on lap 69 out of 80... 12 to go. Nick Heidfeld is stepping up the attack. He feels he's got what it takes to win this. And Susie Wolf just locking up a little bit. Susie Wolf is the 14th and last of our remaining runners. Van Dorn still 6th, 4.5 seconds off the leading car. Then Rossi, Courtney, Bourdais, Verne in the points. Then it's Alguersuari, Bertie, Ericsson and Wolf. They are the last remaining cars in this race. All the others are retirements. But this is a thrilling battle. Genet, Heidfeld, Hulkenberg, De Resta, Hartley, Van Dorn. Heidfeld, the first big name in the top 6 to go for the overtaking move and get himself up a position. He's into P2 now. Can he make the bid on Marc Genet? This will be quite tough. But Marc Genet knows how difficult it's going to be. He knows how tough this race can get. But he is prepared to go for it. So Marc Genet hanging on in front of Heidfeld. Now again, Genet is just holding his line. He's not really blocking. He's not really defending. He's just holding his racing line. He's just keeping himself in the game for long enough that he doesn't really have to panic. A lot of onboards with Susie Wolf. I wonder if Carbacini's wandered in and started instructing the director who to focus on, bless him. Now, what's this going to do in the team standings as well? Because that's quite critical. BAR have 65 to AGS on 52. If Minardi win the race, then they are going to tie with BAR in the team standings. Although, of course, if Verne scores a point, then they will take the lead by 1 point. But AGS will not score the way things currently are, other than Rossi in 7th. Arrows could get a podium, and that's going to bring them closer to BAR. And, very interesting battles in the team standings. And, of course, Manor are likely to close in big time on Onyx with their current performance. Simtek will leap ahead of Super Aguri if they can get... Oh, no, they won't leap ahead because Super Aguri are currently in front of them. Alguersuari locking up. Do not throw this away, Jaime. Do not bin this. There's been rumours about Jaime Alguersuari's job that Tom Cairns at the beginning of our show today have quashed and said, no, his seat is safe. Don't worry, his seat is safe. He's going to get fortune come his way later on in the year. It will come his way. And we're still waiting for that moment. But Jaime Alguersuari is 1 place away from the points. If one of the drivers in the top 10 drops out and there are still 10 laps to go, then it could still be a point for Prost today. So Mark Genet leads Nick Heidfeld, and they have started to pull away from Hulkenberg. Has Hulkenberg got a problem? I was trying to figure out if Hulkenberg's got a problem, but no, he's just not able to keep the same pace. Genet's having to up the ante because Heidfeld is closing in on him. Is Heidfeld going to make the big bold lunge to come through? He's certainly having a think about it. But Mark Genet holds the lead of the race. Verne struggling in 10th place. He's already made his big error of the race. He can't afford another one. So Mark Genet leads the race by 1/4 of a second to Nick Heidfeld. Hulkenberg is dropping back and in 3rd position. He's struggling. And I think he's not quite been able to get on terms with the victory in the manner in which he would have liked to. But a podium would still be good enough if he can keep in front of De Resta and Hartley and Van Dorn. But Hulkenberg is trying to get back into this. He's not done yet. There he is. Still trying to close up. De Resta, Hartley. Oh, is that Verne in trouble? It is! Verne's in trouble. Verne's in trouble. And Verne is not going to make it to the finish. That is devastating. Jean-Eric Verne, having already had the problems, he's not going to lose the Drivers' Championship lead. It's unlikely that BAR will lose the lead of the team standings either. But there goes Jaime Alguersuari. Alguersuari is going to go through into the points-paying position. He's into P10 at the expense of the championship leader, Jean-Eric Verne. BAR do not score in Taupo. But what it actually means is that it's a very fruitful situation again for Prost. They do have a chance of scoring their first point again. Well, there is a sigh of relief. Absolutely fantastic battle. So let's see how it continues. Down through the S's. Genet, Heidfeld, Hulkenberg, De Resta and Hartley. Van Dorn in 6th. All 6 cars still covered by less than 4.5 seconds. Genet struggling to hang on to it. Alguersuari now in P10 for Prost. It would be great for them if they could get that first point at last. Bertie is 1 place out of the points as well in the Midland. I'm not sure what's happened to Marcus Ericsson in this race. He was in 5th at one stage before the pit stops. I think he may have just fueled a little bit too heavy on the one-stop strategy, and that's what dropped him down to what is now 12th position. But effectively, the only car that's behind him now is Susie Wolf. Either that or Ericsson just isn't getting up to speed with this Simtek in quite the same manner that Van Dorn is. But they're fairly even drivers, those two. They're both very talented, but Van Dorn certainly has got more out of the package than Ericsson. Genet still holding on in front of Heidfeld. This is an amazing defensive drive from Mark Genet. He has been leading this race for 24 laps with all the pressure in the world, and he's just hanging on to it. This is an absolutely barnstorming drive from the Minardi. They could be about to win their first ever Grand Prix. Heidfeld 2nd, Hulkenberg 3rd. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn trying to keep up with these 3. But they are not quite catching as fast as I thought they would. De Resta is actually causing a bit of a cork in the bottle situation for those 3. You get the feeling that if Hartley could get past De Resta, he would storm onto the back of these 3 pretty quickly, as would Van Dorn potentially. But it's Jenné, Heidfeld and Hulkenberg. 3 drivers within 0.8 of a second. De Resta 4th, Hartley 5th and Van Dorn in 6th position. A very tight battle. Jenné still trying to hang on. This is looking back from Hulkenberg's arrows. That gap is bigger than I thought it would be at this point. 3 seconds to De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. And De Resta is causing a real headache for Manor and Simtek today. They could be in the fight for victory if it weren't for that Lola. So the battle's still going strong. I wonder if De Resta's got a problem developing, in fact, in 4th position. Because he has suddenly... Well, he's still there. He's still 4 seconds off the lead, but he's causing all sorts of issues. I wonder if there is an issue developing at Lola. Well, no. So far, De Resta, he's in the 1:14s, which is significantly slower than the fastest we've seen from him. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's got a problem as such. Van Dorn must be absolutely hopping mad here in 6th position because he's got a chance to win and it's slowly dissipating. We've got 6 laps to go. Jenné, Heidfeld, Hulkenberg, De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. They're all on the edge of their seats on the pit wall because this is mighty, mighty close. Can Marc Gené hang on to this? He will have been in the lead for over 30 laps with a car right on his tail for the entirety of. First Hulkenberg and now Heidfeld. But Heidfeld is less than 0.2 of a second away. You get the sense that Heidfeld is going to go for the big, bold move at some point soon. But he just doesn't seem to have the grunt in that Mugen compared to the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini seems to have as much grunt, if not slightly more, in a straight line than the Super Aguri. The mechanical grip of the cars behind seems to be greater. But that Lamborghini does have some puff down the straight. So Heidfeld is still waiting for his opportune moment on Marc Gené. He's not able to get there yet. Marc Gené, a big puff of tyre smoke there as he tries to hold on to the lead. And still, this incredible defensive run from Marc Gené continues unabated. Heidfeld has come through in a second. Hulkenberg is still third. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn are joined at the hip for 4th, 5th and 6th. And they're trying to close up on this leading trio. Looking at Hulkenberg now. Frustration looks like it's going to set in for one of these guys at some point, and they're just going to have to make a move. But it's big risk at this point of the race. Brendan Hartley on home soil. The Kiwi is there in 5th position here at Taupo. He will know this circuit better than some of the others, perhaps. But through the hairpin and onto the back straight. Brendan Hartley trying to size up a move on Paul Di Resta in the Lola. And he needs to do it sooner rather than later. The leading 3 are far enough ahead that they don't have to panic about the leading 3 behind. So this is a big moment for Brendan Hartley. He needs to transform this race in 5th position. He needs to make a lunge on Di Resta. He needs to make a big bold gamble essentially here. So this is going to be a tough one to decide. 2 trios, one for 1st, one for 4th, and they are all covered by less than 5 seconds, and it's for the lead of the race. But it looks to me as though that latter trio is going to run out of opportunities. Now here's Sebastien Bourdais. He's trying to get on terms with James Courtney. Courtney is disappearing far enough ahead not to be too concerned about Sebastien Bourdais. So that's an interesting dynamic. And they continue to charge along. So this is going to be a very interesting run for all of the competitors. Gené, Heidfeld and Hulkenberg still covered by a second. Hulkenberg dropping back a little. Perhaps he feels that if Heidfeld goes for the move, he needs to be in the right place at the right time to make a counter-attack. But we've got 3.5 laps to go, and Heidfeld is going to need to go for it eventually. Marcus Ericsson has caught right up to the back of Bertie. If he can get through, there's another point on offer for Simtek if one more car in the top 10 drops out. And it's not inconceivable in the final few laps. I have seen cars drop out with a lap or two to go. We've seen it at Marrakesh, of course. Bourdais was looking good for a podium, and he dropped out on the very last lap at Marrakesh, falling to 8th in the classification. Marc Gené still leads. Where's Heidfeld? He's so close, he's behind us and we can't see him. That's how close it is at the moment. And Hulkenberg is still there in 3rd. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn still scrapping over 4th. And I think it's stalemate unless Heidfeld goes for it. So Heidfeld is going to make his big bid at some point in this next couple of laps. But what a showdown. 6 cars, 4.5 seconds in it for the victory at Taupo in the Grand Prix of New Zealand here on the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park. Into the hairpin. Through the left. A fight worthy. Oh, someone's in trouble up the road. Now, who's that? Is that Alguersuari? I don't believe it. The engine has gone on the Ford of the Prost of Alguersuari with just 3 laps to go. How cruel does it need to be for Prost? Absolutely astonishing. Now, he's trying to get it home. This is like Panis in Adelaide 95. He's trying to just keep it going. Come on, come on. A little bit more power. Come on. He's trying to bring it home in the point. This is agonising, but I think he's got to accept Jaime Alguersuari. He's being caught rapidly by Bertie and Ericsson. Bertie could snatch the final point here for Midland. It's done and dusted. What a shame. Alguersuari gives it up. Oh, that's devastating. Another chance of points for Prost gone. So cruel. So agonising. And that is heart-wrenching for the Prost team. Yet again, a chance of points scuppered. Well, I don't know what to say. That is just heart-wrenchingly cruel. But Marc Genet is leading on the penultimate lap with Heidfeld in second place. And he's actually dropped back a little bit. Heidfeld has dropped back. Hulkenberg is there in third. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn are there in fourth, fifth and sixth. And I think actually Genet has been keeping a little bit back in reserve. And now he's going for it. Now he's trying to edge out a little bit of a gap to be comfortable. Marc Genet might just have done enough here. Out of the final turn and into the final lap. Genet, Heidfeld, Hulkenberg, a second between them. Fourth position for De Resta, fifth for Hartley and sixth for Van Dorn. And I think it's going to be a stalemate. Heidfeld made the impression on Hulkenberg, but Genet had enough in reserve to keep this freight train running at the front of the field. And what a mature drive. What a sturdy and sensible drive it's going to be from Marc Genet if he could just hang on to it. Hartley and Van Dorn frustrated by De Resta. They couldn't quite get on terms with the trio in front. But what a performance from Marc Genet. It's been an absolute thrill ride from the Spaniard who leads for Minardi. They have never won a Grand Prix. They started on the front row once, and they certainly ran in the top 5 at Adelaide in 1989 with Pierluigi Martini. They've had a few near misses. Think of Luca Badua in 1999 at the Nürburgring, ploughing to his knees in frustration and tears of frustration at the Nürburgring. Fourth position would have been their best ever result. Now they are about to come through for a victory. Heidfeld tries one more time, but it's too late. Marc Genet comes out of the final turn, and Marc Genet wins in New Zealand from Heidfeld and Hulkenberg. De Resta fourth from Hartley and Van Dorn. What a race! What a performance from Marc Genet. He hangs on for over 30 laps to take the victory. Absolutely brilliant. Even Heidfeld has to applaud Marc Genet there. He couldn't quite overhaul him, but it's a podium for Heidfeld and for Hulkenberg. De Resta, Hartley and Van Dorn. Rossi in 7th place. It's a point. It's 4 points, in fact, for James Courtney of BMS Italia. Bourdais is 9th for Onyx, and 10th is Bertie in the Midland. So now the only team to have failed to score points in this season is the unlucky and hapless Prost squad. But they will get their day. With De La Rosa and Alguersuari in the form they're in, they will get their chance. But what a result and what a performance for Marc Genet. He wins an absolute thriller here at Taupo. Absolutely sensational. De Resta comes home 4th for Lola. 5th place for Brendan Hartley on home soil. 6th for Van Dorn, Rossi, Courtney, Bourdais and Bertie in the points. But it's a victory, and we will confirm it shortly with this man, Marc Genet, winning by a quarter of a second to Nico Hulkenberg in front of Paul de Resta, Brendan Hartley and Stoffel Van Dorn, and the 6 of them were covered by less than 5 seconds. Rossi is 7th for AGS, 8th for James Courtney, 9th for Bourdais, 10th for Bertie, 11th for Marcus Ericsson, just 1 place away from the points in the end. Wolf is 12th. Alguersuari will be classified as a finisher because he retired just 3 laps from the end. So he will still technically be classified as a race finisher despite his retirement at the end. But nobody else made it home. Very dramatic stuff and a very tough race. But that was absolutely spellbounding stuff. Absolutely incredible. What a race. And now it's time to go down to the pit garages, and we will find some of our team bosses who have had an absolutely incredible race. Let's talk first of all to Alex Goldschmidt. Alex, Marc Genet has got himself the victory in an absolutely incredible drive. How do you feel about
that? Speechless. He was definitely doing a Danny Rick, like in 2018 in Monte Carlo, but Marc decided to go in very conservative and said, well, if I get to the lead, I'm going to just try and put my car where I need to and just make sure that the Lambo engine's got a bit in reserve towards the end of the race, and he made it stick, and wow. And also now he leads the championship because obviously Jean didn't finish, puts him, I think, 3 points ahead of Jean at the moment, but to have a win, and I was, for the last 30-odd laps, I said to the other team principals, I went, I'm not too sure if he's going to win this. But yeah, mega made up. Obviously, the efforts of putting both the power and the reliability, both paramount. It's helped with the Lamborghini engine, and obviously we're going to keep on that consistent trail because it seems to work for us at the moment, and hopefully we can go into the next round with a lot more motivation. The team are absolutely jumping over each other at the minute. It was like a dog pile by the tyre wall at the minute, but yeah, really stoked, really happy about it, and yeah, can't believe it.
Congratulations, Minardi, victorious at last. Well done, Alex. Good job. So let's grab a word with Sam Hall of the Manor team, whose man Brendan Hartley has got it into the top 5 on home soil. That is not a bad performance there from your man there in 5th position. It could so easily have been the podium, though.
Yeah, no, we were slightly concerned when Lucas went out of the race, but obviously he did the full distance in Bathurst, so we had concerns about that engine before the race. But yeah, we were working in conjunction with the Simtech team when both Brendan and Stoffel had their problems. We worked in conjunction with the team to move forward, and then we just got held up by the Lola of Di Restra. I mean, that Lola's got bulletproof reliability, it seems, and it just doesn't have the pace, so we couldn't do anything to pass it.
Well, it's good to get a few more points on the board. Congratulations. Hopefully next time out at Estoril, an even better result is in the offing. Well done. I turn now to the Simtech team and Scott Woodwiss. I can sense there's frustration there because Stoffel had a brilliant package, and had it not been for that little electrical blip before his second pit stop, that could have been a race win for him, but you must be relieved and delighted that the package is finally showing what it can do.
Yeah, I think relieved is definitely the word of the day, I think, in terms of how things have gone recently for Stoffel. Yeah, he was. I was very pleased with how he ran today. Very, very strong. Car performed pretty well. I have to echo really what Sam said in terms of, you know, I think had Di Restra not put up the defensive effort that he had, I think that seriously Brendan and Stoffel would have moved forward and made it 5 cars for the lead. As it was, it's still points on the board for Stoffel, his first in the race. I'm glad that Marcus got to the end as well. Shame he couldn't get past Luciano in the end. Both cars home, it's prize money, it's points on the board, so it's really what I was after. So yeah, fingers crossed that now we're going to Europe, we can use some of that to push a little bit further up and hopefully go forwards. I think one thing it has shown is that for the most part, our cars are good in race trim for the most part. In qualifying, they seem to pop up every now and again, depending on the circuit. But we've got 2 drivers and a car which can move up to the field and, provided everything goes okay, can get themselves into good positions to score points. So yeah, I'm very relieved and quite happy that we've managed to get something from our sort of the last flyaway race for a while. And let's see what Europe brings.
Fantastic stuff. Good to see Simtech scoring big. Good job. Let's have a chat to our man at Onyx, Ryan Ferris. Ryan, coming into the weekend, obviously off the back of some good results for Onyx, this was a frustrating one, I think. Bruno retiring early, and obviously a game over 2 for Sebastian Bourdais in terms of fighting for the victory, but some points on the bag. Are you frustrated to be down in 9th, though?
Yes, I am a little bit. I think the strategy didn't play out accordingly. We were kind of stuck behind a gaggle of slower cars when we came out of the first pit stop, and that kind of plagued us until we got to the second pit stop. So any hope of getting near that top 6 squabble was well and truly dashed after that point. But yeah, shame for Bruno. That's another mechanical retirement that's caused him not to come near the points. But you know, we're now at that point where we can make a few more investments with the car, so maybe we might come a bit stronger come Europe.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll see those purple and white cars back up towards the front again soon, Ryan. Good job today with the team. And finally, this is bitter. It's bittersweet. I mean, Tom Cairns, again, 2 drivers doing the best that they can possibly do with their package. De La Rosa was right up there, could have been in the hunt for the victory again today, right up in that top 6 fight he could have been. And Alguersuari bitterly robbed of the final point. I mean, you guys must be desolately devastated at the moment.
Well, there's nothing more to it than being devastated. You know, it felt like we had been robbed. I mean, Alguersuari was classified at least anyway with a 13th position, which is our best result, believe it or not. But that's a sole consolation when we really, really were within the shout of a point, or a good few points actually, which was so desperately needed. And I believe now we're the only team without a point so far.
That is true.
Which is embarrassing, really. But we just got to hope the next time out in Portugal that we're going to, take the fight to the field and actually just get to the end for once. I mean, we've got some budget money coming our way because we've had 2 finishes from the last 2 races. So hopefully that'll at the very least, get us fighting towards getting points on the board, which is very much necessary given where the other teams are. But like you said in the commentary, we're going to have our days of success. It's not like it's going to go on and go on and go on with this hoodoo. It will end eventually, but hopefully that hoodoo will end next time out in Estoril.
Good stuff. Prost Grand Prix no longer sponsored by Hoodoo. Good job, Tom. Thanks very much. So attention now turns to the next event. And of course, we are going to be wrapping things up for the Antipodean end of the championship as we now get ourselves ready for the next race encounter. And it is going to be a return visit to Estoril in Portugal, the fabulous circuit that last hosted the Grand Prix back in 1996. And we are very excited to be returning. It's going to be an absolute thriller of a race, and as we come to Europe for the second half of the the second third, I should say, of the season, it's going to be a really thrilling battle. But we've had 4 different teams winning in the first 4 races. It's very much game on in terms of the championship. I'm Jake Sanson. See you on Monday night when we go for Portugal at Estoril.